everybody, welcome back again tonight to the Pigsty. Tonight we've got Let's Farm, we've got Scott Williamson. We're just going to hang out, have a chat, usually what we do on a Saturday. So I just want to say everybody, oh, where's my live chat? As always, my production is just fantastic, you know. Thanks to Nanu for being here, Mr. Willis. Sparrow, thanks for coming over from Let's Farm's server, Sparrow. Hopefully you'll enjoy yourself, and feel free to join. The link's pinned for anyone who wants to join. We've got Rage, we've got James. Oh, Artie, I just seen today. How are you, man? Did I see a picture of you on Twitter? It was something with your gallbladder or something. Look after yourself. And Mega Dirk's here as well. So I'm going to hand over to Scott. And Scott, if you want to give a wee introduction for yourself for the people who don't know who you are, and then we'll move over to Let's Farm.
Hey, I'm just here to hang out and have a nice, interesting discussion, see what we can get into. But my name is Scott Williamson. I have a podcast called Electro Live, which is mainly has to do with music and things of that nature. And you know, I do discussions, and I definitely help host on different channels for folks when we talk about atheism and skepticism and things of that nature. So I'm a skeptic, an atheist, and and I just like to talk about it.
You'll fit in perfectly here then, Scott. We love to talk and ramble and tangent and, you know, all's good. Let's Farm, would you like to give a wee shout out for yourself and your new up and coming channel?
Absolutely. Let's Farm. I run a Discord server with a little over 2,000 members. We are about to fire up a YouTube channel where we will have not only debates, but we're going to have open panels, we're going to have Let's Talks, and we're going to try to run a logical fallacy show. We'll do our best.
You do an awful lot over there, man. You've taken that wee server, and hi James, whenever I give you that wee server, you ended up with that wee server, you've done an awful lot with it. It's run really, really well. The moderators are very respectful of each other. You've had conversations. I was just lurking tonight, and I appreciate that Let's Farm has been nice enough to give me honorary mod status. Not that I'm going to mod or do anything, but I was just watching how you dealt with that guy earlier tonight, and it was very respectful. You weren't ignorant. You didn't come in and say, you're doing this wrong. It was like, think about what you said, change the wording a wee bit, stick to the rules. You know, it was very, I thought it was very well handled.
That's what we try to do. We don't want to destroy the debate or the discussion. We just, you know, hope that you can do it in a civil manner.
Discussions and be respectful.
We had a debate on our Discord yesterday. Unfortunately, recordings failed. Not your fault at all. And neither one of the debaters that were taking part recorded it either. But the debate was absolutely great. They were talking about the LGBTQIA plus has failed or been failed. That was the debate.
Definitely, I'm sorry about that, but we'll set up the next setup and we'll have it going and working so that we can get the recording going. I'll just show you how to do it, man. It's just, I didn't have the time when we were talking. I was at work trying to freaking show you through my phone and it wasn't working. James, thank you very much for jumping in, James. If anyone doesn't know James Appersons, he's been flying about the community for a wee while, hanging around with, what do you call him, Myth Vision, and doing an awful lot over there. So James, if you want to give a shout out to yourself and who you are.
Right, so I'm usually hero support in other people's channels, but I do have a channel of my own. It's named after me, James Apperson. Pretty easy to find, and I don't have a schedule because I never know when I'm going to be available or up for it. I have a question for Scott before we get too deep into anything. I would love to have a channel where I discuss music, but I can't figure out how to discuss people's music without getting dinged for copyright. How do you get past that?
Well, I do interviews, and you know, sometimes I put live vinyl sets together. My audience are into like 80s and early 90s electro music and hip hop music. So if I have interviews, I interview people and we just talk. So there's no real copyrights to really worry about. So it's not like that. And then if you do a DJ vinyl set, a live set with a lot of music, as long as it's listed out and YouTube will list it all out as copywritten, and then you won't get shut
Tang
down.
would be your man to talk to, I think, about that, James. He's been having an awful lot of issues recently with copyright. He used to do streaming, making his mixing and playing actual music. So I would talk to Oz about that. He would probably know if you can or if you can't.
Usually you'd need to pay for like some kind of package that would give you some kind of license to the music.
Yeah, I just usually use YouTube. I'm lucky enough if anyone can hear the wee bit of music in the background that's just playing. A person in the community made that for me, and I've been using that same backing track for since I started. It's basically, if I see anyone's, it's what I could use to say you can't use my content. If someone put my content up with that music in the background. Not that I ever have, but that's particular and just lucky for me. Was a backing track. No. Hi. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, what's up? Yeah.
Thanks for biblically last night.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see it, but I was glad to push him off on you. So.
Yeah, I've no daughter this weekend. She spent this weekend with her mum. It's the last weekend of the month, so her and her mum were going doing their thing together. So I had 2 bottles of wine and smoked like half my week's worth of fucking weed. I was in a mess. Give me biblically. Come on.
Like P-Town's enough dumpster fire for one room. I don't know biblically to add on to P-Town.
It seemed like you were having an actual conversation though, rather than
than the last time. Yeah, biblically, I don't know. Oh my gosh.
He went on then after my channel to pay Snake is Right $30 American to host him, and then went to Snake is Right's channel and debated Snake is Right for like another 2 or 3 hours.
He gets enthusiastic, that's for sure.
Very enthusiastic. Well, not that anyone doesn't know, but Sparrow might not know. Sparrow, it's their first night here. Would you like to introduce yourself, Knock, and give a shout out? And the bot should be working if anyone can see it.
I'm pretty sure Sparrow knows me, if that's Sparrow from Praise's channel. I'm the raging atheist. I'm actually the cooking atheist, so I'll be cooking right here at first. So I'll have my speakers on and be listening.
Keeping the spot warm. No, I think Sparrow came over from Let's Farm, so I don't know if it's the same. But
yes, she did.
It might not be the same Sparrow.
Is the bot working? I don't know. What's your fucking bot command? I'm not supposed to remember them all. You just have to remember your own words. I can't remember what it is. Is it not?
I have no idea.
I don't fucking remember. There's that goddamn many of them. Like.
I think it might be Rage.
I tried that. Well, anyway, right. The whole idea of tonight, as people usually know, is we just start with a wee chat. We wait for people to come in, bounce around. See Mr. Zebra's here. There you go. It's Knock. And Mr. Spooky Bedher has turned up, sending out all the love to Spooky. Hi, Randy. And so the idea of the topic is, you've heard the tagline of the channel, telling people to think for themselves and stuff like that. I'm glad that Rage that you've joined, because I know for a fact that you have a daughter, and I know that interactions and knows your opinions and stuff. And recently, as I mentioned on my last stream, quite quickly, my daughter's asked me about God quite recently, and she's decided to follow God. She sees him as a facilitator to gain access to talking to her grandfather, and that's what she's gained from it. And the idea of, can we think for ourselves? Is there anyone who truly does think for themselves, or is every single goddamn thing we do influenced by everyone around us?
So we're defining think for ourselves as uninfluenced, then no, nobody thinks for themselves. But if we define it differently, then I think the answer can be yeah.
Let's hear a definition then, James. You are a wee bit choppy, James, as well. If you could get closer to your router, maybe.
Oh, sorry about that. So I was actually going to ask if anybody else on the panel would care to define thinking for ourselves before I could even address it.
Well, I would probably want to define, like what we understand about self. Self is like a construct, like based on your memories, your experiences, your mental state at any point in time. And so I guess you're always going to express that. Like it's all kind of tied together. So maybe that's what I think of when I think of express yourself. You're just expressing your mental state.
Well, to think,
or psychology.
like to think for oneself, in maybe a colloquial or very vague sort of way, in my opinion, not to be extreme as the last one, would be you come across a situation, you assess it, and from your own past experiences and what you've been through, you then can make a decision upon what's best. Rather than going into a situation and thinking, what would Knock do? Or what would the Bible tell me to do? Or how should I approach this according to the set of rules that is given upon me? Society will define these certain rules, and we think that, we're going to stick to the ones that we agree to. Obviously, some of us break the rules and smoke weed in places we're not allowed to, so we don't always agree with society's rules. But yeah, I think thinking for oneself is taking the experiences that you've been through, the decisions that you've made before, looking upon a situation and then acting.
Yep.
I agree with them. I find it very hard to escape my influences. I mean, I was born very late in my parents' life. They were children of the Great Depression, so I find it very hard to escape that influence.
Yep.
Knock.
So I think it's fine to recognize our influences as long as we are able to do that. I think that's what gives us the power to be able to objectively look at things and make decisions for ourselves. Anybody that thinks they're not influenced by culture or other people along their journey, they're just wrong, because I can't even fathom how that can be the case. We're all influenced in different ways.
Yep.
That island of all the people that we're not allowed to visit, and the last guy that got visited got stabbed, there's a group of people that don't know what's going on in society.
Yeah.
But Knock, as I said about the daughter and stuff like that, Knock, I'm sure that you would be of the same ideas that, you're trying to raise that, he's fucking cooking, that's right, he's gone. Raising kids, raising people who you're going to move forward into society, giving them the tools to think for themselves, teaching them, as James pointed out, knowing the reasons why. If you understand that you go to a shop and the first thing you're going to buy is a Snickers bar because you grew up eating Snickers and things like that. And I personally love Jaffa Cakes because my nanny, every single time I went to my father's mother's house, she had a box of Jaffa Cakes for me and my brother. Every single fucking time. We'd leave, she'd go and buy another one, hide it in the cupboard, so it's just there for me and my brother. And I can't not think of Jaffa Cakes without making that connection.
Yeah, as long as you're aware of it, there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, being aware of it though, and being aware of why we make decisions, James, as I was saying, like if you walk into, not to walk out in front of the street because the one time you did it, you got hit by a car. Right? So that's a reason for you not to do it. That's an experience that you went through, and something that you went through, you now don't want to go through that again. You've made the decision. Getting hit by a car, not good. I'm not the Hulk.
I'm going to turn this light on 1 second.
I mean, we're even influenced by other animals and insects. I know that the reason I'm afraid of bees, for example, is because I was chased by a bumblebee that I made a mistake of trying to pick up, and it stung me. And so remember that formative experience. And if it's okay to be influenced and admit that we've been influenced by an interaction with a small insect, then I think we could be easily make peace with the idea that we can be influenced by other human beings.
Yeah, and that also gives you the opportunity then to say, for talk's sake, in that particular thing, the idea of fear, being able to being aware of knowing that you're afraid of bees in particular, and that's where your fear of, say, all insects could come from, so then there's a possibility if you can overcome your fear of bees and where that came from, then you can overcome the whole thing.
It's good for people to think for themselves when they have the tools to actually think correctly. Like some people just don't know certain things, and they base their decisions on maybe illogical things. They make really bad decisions. They don't pay attention to their experience, and that can be a challenge too. So I guess that's what you're referring to about, having a daughter and raising, people that you're going to send out into the world, got to equip them with the tools to think correctly first,
Well, how do you know what the difference is between nature and nurture, though? I mean, my family has a long history of alcoholics on the male side. I, of course, am an alcoholic. But was it because I was raised by an alcoholic, or am I genetically an alcoholic?
I would say the general status on that would be that you would have a predisposition towards alcoholism, which was made worse by being raised by an alcoholic.
That's
The
right.
situation probably could have existed where you were put in a normal home where everybody was grand and raised by non-alcoholics, and then later in life had a trigger, had a bad incident, and become one. You know, I think that's generally where the stance would fall. I could be wrong. But
That's kind of how I see it.
everything is nature and nurture. There's nothing, unless you're born and put in a box, where everything's completely controlled.
Right.
I think Terry is going to come in. Yeah, I was looking about that, Mr. Willis. I don't know, James, if you was the one that said you're afraid of bees or had the thing with bees. I had my father out with his beehives. We've 30 plus hives at the house, like hundreds and millions of bees just flying around at the bottom of the garden. And my wee girl in 6 years nearly has never been stung. She stands up the front of them. She shows no fear. She's never been stung.
Wow.
I've been stung multiple times and was afraid of them until you get used to it. But yeah, MathPig honey. If I could get over the laws of selling it to the Americans, you can't just put it in a box and send food to America. And then
I'll look for the new line of MathPig honey.
I did it once. I did send honey to Josh and Megan of Digital Hammurabi. I sent them a jar of honey for like a birthday or Christmas or something one year. And the woman in the post office specifically told me when she asked me what's in this, I said honey. She went, no, it's toys. And I went, okay, it's toys.
Awesome. So I think Ryan, R-I-O-N, was in the stream just when we started. I hope she's still there. She had a really great stream today over there at Skeptic Haven about what leads to violence in the male community and warning signs and what could be done about it.
Ah, you said their name out loud and now it makes sense. See, I am awful at this. This is Ryan that was on a couple of weeks ago. Ryan's fucking brilliant. Ryan, get in here. We were talking earlier. Come in. I'm looking at this and thinking Ryan. I'm not thinking Ryan. I'm thinking Ryan.
Right. I've got to leave here briefly, but I'll be back and then I'll jump in the queue again.
Yeah. There's plenty of space, man. We can hold up to 10 people.
Right back.
So there's loads of space. And Terry's coming in, so that's going to be fun. I don't think Terry and Scott have ever met before. Have you, Scott?
No.
Have you heard of the days of the week?
Why are you ruining this man's life, MathPig?
Have you heard of the days of the week?
No.
No, you've never heard of the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're like the 7 days.
Oh, of course. Oh, you mean that? Yeah.
That's proof for God. That's all I need to tell you.
Oh.
That's proof for
got it.
God. That's it. You're gonna love
Yeah.
Terry. Terry is respectful though to a point. Yeah, I always have good interactions with Terry. He understands that if he overshouts someone and I shut him up, I'm not picking on the Christian, because if someone overspeaks him, I will shout at you as well. So he's respectful in that sort of way. But he's interesting. We should have fun with Terry.
Is that kind of related to 2023 proves Jesus?
I don't know. Ask Rage. He's had more interactions than me.
2023 from the year of Jesus.
He's it's the 7-day week was prophesied and blah blah blah. So because every nation of the world adopted a 7-day week, then that proves God.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Clearly. It makes obvious sense.
It's quite obvious.
It's very obvious. I don't know why you haven't seen it yet, Rage.
Say what? I'm sorry.
I said, I'm sorry why you haven't seen it. So obvious. Like, it's clearly 7 days a week proves God.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the most intellectual minds of the 21st century.
So how have you...
He's very enthusiastic about his argument.
Can I ask you a personal question right now, Rage, if I may? Or are you still cooking?
I'm almost done, but go shoot.
Where are you standing right now? Are we back to the rage or the raging Buddhist? Or if you don't mind, I'm sorry if I come across as rude, but where are you standing right now?
It didn't take me long to get back to my atheist position. I never went to Buddhist. I was a agnostic there for a minute. I was thinking Buddhism.
Well, whenever I first heard you mention this, I thought that the very first time I heard it, I can't remember if it was on your channel or you were discussing it on maybe Gur's channel that particular night, he fucking whatever it was or whatever. Yeah, it was just basically agnosticism, coming to the point where it's like, we don't know, we can't prove anything. I'm open to that. And I felt that it was a very honest, genuine, open sort of point of view, you know, that you gave across. I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of there, but I've definitely fallen back into my anti-theist position, and I don't know. I don't think that because I can't prove something doesn't mean that something doesn't exist. So I don't know. I've kind of went back to my hardcore atheist position.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm searching the far reaches of the planet for the 4 pillars of the earth is what I'm doing.
You're basically going to become a bum then, yeah? Having a nice wee walk along. What do the Aussies call it? A walkabout.
Yeah, I'll be right back. I'm just got to pull everything off the stove.
Well, it's a bad time for me. I was going to step out, but I'll wait a second. I'm just going to jump on my PC when I get a chance here.
You should be in your PC from the start. We still have to
I should have been, but I was unable to get there. Now I'm there.
Well, the link's out there, as we've said. Ryan, come on in. Pat has just turned up. Pat, welcome to come on in. Hey, back. Everybody, anybody, welcome. Please come in. We will need a buffer between us and Terry. Thoughts on a walkabout and shit like that. I'm recently reading a book, Stone Junction, and there's parts of it where the main character does this. He was raised, and a part of his upbringing was he went and spent 4 years with this guy who would routinely just go out and spend time in the mountains and shit like that, and not necessarily fast or whatever or spiritual or anything like that. It's more about finding your center and being, you know, you. Mm-hmm. What are your feelings on that, and do you think that that's possible now? The best I feel that anyone can do now is, if you need space, you're stuck at home. If you're stuck at home, you're going to be on the computer, you're going to be on the internet, you're going to be surrounded by input. It's very difficult for anyone now to go and just center themselves in nature, so to speak.
Isn't that what Sadhguru teaches? It's called personal engineering, where he teaches you how to go inside yourself regardless of where you're at. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not about going to the woods, it's not about going to church or believing in God, it's not about any of that. There's a certain technique that he teaches or whatever, but I'm kind of skeptical of people like that.
I wouldn't go as far as saying I'm spiritual or anything like that or whatever, but there's something that can be garnered from pissing off to where there's no internet or there's no Wi-Fi or there's no screens or, you know, anything like that. Me and my daughter, we go camping. We went camping last year. We're going back camping this year to the same spot, same camping site and everything, because we both absolutely loved it, and hopefully it'll become a regular thing. And once you leave the campsite, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no GPS, no Wi-Fi, no internet. There wasn't even GPS, man. Absolutely and utterly nothing.
But what I'm saying is, I think that's your projection. You're projecting.
No, I feel that
there's people. Let me explain. Like, there's people that go to the woods and they get horrified. They suffer. They're scared to death. They're not comfortable. They have to get back. You know, it's because of the attitude you bring to the situation. Yes. So you have to project the right attitude about whatever it is you're doing. You know. Otherwise, it's going to be a good or a bad experience.
We got lost in the forest for an hour because I tried to take a shortcut. Instead of a walk of a shoe, I tried to walk right across. And that has not been walked in maybe 50 years. It's a really old forest. We got stuck, we got sunk, we got lost. My daughter now, when we go back to this place, has said to me, want to go back, want to do the horses, we're not going to the forest, Dad. Like, she had a wee small mini panic attack in it. She thought we were going to be lost forever. Do we now have to live in the forest, Daddy? Are we finding our way back? You know, she feels like that now, specifically about that forest. Not any other forest, but that particular forest. Does not want to go back there at all.
Yeah. And it could be a subjective thing where other people would find great peace out there.
I feel that though society has, because there's the internet at constant availability. Hi Terry, thanks for joining. There's so much availability of input, and so maybe not nature. You know, maybe you need to go to a steam room and sit down. Maybe you need to go. Maybe you prefer mountains or something like that. Maybe you prefer just to sit in a fucking dark room with all the lights switched off. But I feel the internet and the amount of visualizations that we are getting with the digital and all this, you know, it's always a very bright light. It's people are happy now that their phones are 1,000 nits instead of what it used to be at 300, and then they wonder why they're up all night because there's so much artificial light, so much brightness, and I feel removing ourselves from such a high input, such a high volume of input is a good. That's the point I'm trying to make. You know, our brains are designed.
It's like the beginning steps of transhumanism. You know, it's like we're disconnecting from the natural into the artificial. You know, and embracing it. We're embracing it as a society and trying to meld with these machines. Like our iPhones and technology are like extended minds for us. You know. We're kind of like cyborgs already in a sense, you know.
You asked me about ChatGPT earlier, and I generally refer to them as my really smart friend that doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not adverse to technology, but I do feel that every now and again people just need to switch the fuck off. People need to go and find their center, find themselves, go and do something that doesn't involve this, just to get some personal in you time, you know. Terry, any thoughts on what we've been saying or what we're discussing at the minute? And again, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for the hospitality. I just came in, so I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. I spoke to you in the chat, and you talked about are we allowed to think for ourselves? I believe we all do that for the most part. Well, I think there's a segment of a great segment of the population that are just repeating what the so-called specialists and experts are saying without doing any due diligence and verifying information. So that's the reason why I pride myself in exposing those so-called scholars and showing how foolish their positions are and why it's not tenable.
Well, James give a definition of what he thought thinking for yourself. One, I give an extreme version of thinking for yourself, which is, you know, having no influences whatsoever, which is never going to exist. That's a philosophical impossibility. Now, in real life terms, what I define thinking for oneself is approaching a situation, analyzing it, being aware of your situation, being aware of what you've been through, thinking of past experiences that can influence or can, you know, give you a better decision upon this, and then making a decision upon it. Over, just to make it clear, saying, let's look at a rule book and saying what a rule book says, or looking at a guide to say what a guide says, or say for talk's sake, I told you what to do. Thinking for yourself as in your experiences, what you've been through, analysing, moving forward. Would you be happy with that definition, and could you give one of your own, please?
No, actually, I'm not too... I don't disagree much with what you just stated. Unfortunately, that's not the reality we live in. I think most people are connected in their thoughts, a kind of hive mind situation going on. And I see that mostly for the most part, those who are non-believers in the Hebrew scriptures. I believe most of them are unable or incapable or thinking for themselves and reasoning for themselves. All they're doing is just repeating what the so-called expert trickle down as information.
So taking that, right, you're going to tell me, and I'm going to ask you a question just to clarify for everybody here. Expert, as in somebody who has spent their time in a field studying a particular topic and has an opinion to either write papers or make vocal statements about it. You would consider that to be an expert, yes?
Yes, just a little caveat to that. I consider myself an expert as well, although I didn't get any schooling. I spent more hours, when it comes to the Hebrew scriptures, I spend more hours than any scholar. So when it comes to that, I think I have my accreditation that comes from above. Here's my issue.
Really?
I appeal to scholars.
Caveat, not a paragraph, just be clear.
No, I'll be quick. I appeal to scholars as well to make my points. What I'm saying is when a so-called expert is making outrageous statements that cannot be substantiated, and when information that can be validated disproves their or undermines their thesis, then we should be considered them as experts, and every single expert should not be considered as an expert. For example, i.e., Dr. Kip, so-called Dr. Kip, so-called Dr. Joshua Bowen, all the other experts I've destroyed in debates.
Okay, right.
So-called.
Well, using your logic then, a person who has went into a mental institution and has sat down and has read everything there is to know on the evolution and creation of sneakers, right, is an expert on sneakers and can be referred to as an expert on sneakers because they've spent more hours than anyone else in the shoe industry talking about shoes.
In some sense, yes, it's quite an outrageous example, but yeah,
I always go extremes, yeah. All right, can I add a caveat to your caveat and make you think about a question, and then I'm gonna, I think, not try to say something. Would you be open to the idea that you doing your own personal study without any outside influence, and I'm talking physical, not godly, right? Any outside influence, your time spent on it will never change or will never evolve, get better, have a better, different understanding, point of view, because it's always you. The reason that we encourage peer review and the reason that we encourage other people to go to classes, so to speak, and interact with other people is because asking questions will discern whether something's right or wrong. You know, I feel that you need someone there to question your method, to question the way you're doing it, to focus you and find a more precise
and
I agree with every for the most part what you said, but I think it's a mischaracterization of my position because I do appeal to scholars as well. So that just makes it clear.
How do you know that you spend more time than they do?
I'm willing, through my interactions with my multiple debates, I've demonstrated multiple times that those so-called scholars are not
So-called. Can you read
educated
ancient?
as me.
Can you read ancient Hebrew?
That was never the claim. Try to pay attention to what I'm saying. I never made that claim.
Well, I mean, you're claiming that you've spent more hours than these quote-unquote so-called historians.
reading the
and yet
Hebrew scriptures. Yes,
they've taken the
specifically.
years out of their life to actually learn the ancient Hebrew so they can
Irrelevant.
read these manuscripts.
Irrelevant.
But you spent more time than they did.
That's the problem with the rageous atheist. It seems to me you have a problem understanding or listening, because I made it clear and I clearly stipulated
I have
my
a
position.
problem.
Okay,
I have a
no,
problem.
just to make it
believing.
clear, on my channel, you can tell Rage that his belief system's fucked up and all the rest of it. You can't make a personal dig. Show some respect, and Rage, try not to overtalk him and fucking poke the bear.
Yeah, I'll try.
Peace and respect, guys.
I was thank you, and I didn't know I did a personal attack, but if I did, I apologize. I'm gonna stipulate what I said. I said I spent more time in the Hebrew scriptures. The Hebrew scriptures. I didn't talk about language, and I said I appeal to scholars. When I go to a Hebrew interlinear, I'm appealing to their scholarship as it relates to language, because I don't have that education. So that's what I do to appeal to them, but I don't just blindly accept it. What do? In a concordance, words are used multiple times, and it gives me the application of the word throughout scripture, and I can do my due diligence as it relates to that.
Cool.
Educating
Take language
myself.
out of it. Take language. So take all the years spent learning a dead language out of it. Fine. Still,
It's not a dead language.
we're talking about people that spend hours of every day looking at these scriptures, looking at the original manuscripts, looking at manuscripts that actually, doesn't have anything to do with the Hebrew scriptures, but might validate them, might correlate them, but yet you still spend more time than they do.
I'm gonna try one more time, and then I'm gonna try to speak to somebody that's actually paying attention to what I said. The Hebrew scriptures specifically. I didn't say I am.
Cool,
I never
bro.
said I never said I was a specialist. I never said I was a more specialist than Dr. Kip when it comes to the Hebrew language. I never said that. He's a specialist when it comes to that, but I still corrected him 3 times. So I corrected him 3 times, and I can pinpoint it 3 times I corrected him. So that's the point. He's still a specialist when it comes to the Hebrew language. I would never challenge him in regards to that. But when it comes to the Hebrew scriptures, I've educated every single expert that you know. And I can pinpoint every instance I educated them.
Right, knock, retort, and then I do want to hand it over to Richard and see how Richard is.
Well, I mean, Terry's heard my retort before. Like, you say this, but to everybody that observes Terry, everybody has a different opinion, right? Like, you aren't schooling anybody. You've done this. I don't know what 8 years now. It's the same stick. It's the same argument. You've been schooled 1,000 times. You've made the claim that you're going to be an atheist if anybody ever proves you wrong, but every time somebody just destroys your argumentation, you kind of ignore it and move on to the next time, right?
I think he's being respectful, and we did say that we would let Richard talk after this. So, hey, Richard.
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to say hi.
Hello.
The dirty weasel slipped in. Is Richard there? He might be smoking. You can take the floor, Mr. Weasel, Dr. Weasel. Go.
Oh yeah, no. So I had a question. What language did you study the scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures in?
Yes.
Good question. I will address that. Just real quickly. It's all good to have different opinions, and that's great. But the difference between me and the rest is that I could pinpoint when I say I did this and I did that. Every single time I'm speaking to the raging atheist, every single time I tell you to re-stipulate a point that was undermine my position, you were never able to produce any example. So that shows me either you're not paying attention or you're just intentionally lying. One of the two. So as it relates to the question that was asked about which language I read it in English. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, to some extent, I think the question, to some extent, speaks for itself. I think it is useful and important to understand scriptures in the language in which they were written. I don't know any other languages other than English, so I'm in the same boat you are. Well, okay, I don't know if you know other languages, but I would be unable to study the scriptures in any other language other than English.
I agree with you, and I just want to make sure.
Hey, Terry, let him finish.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, yeah, I was more or less done.
Okay, so I agree with you. I want to make sure you understand. I don't speak Hebrew, and I don't need to. And yes, if you understand the Hebrew, it gives you a deeper understanding. So what I did for the last 10 years, I devoted my time to reading the Hebrew scriptures. When I finished reading in English the first time, as I was growing in faith, I bought myself a concordance, an interlinear, and I was corresponding the English to the Hebrew. So I do have a specific understanding of the Hebrew language as it relates to the Hebrew scriptures. So when I do debates, like for example, when I debated Pat Noenger, when he claimed the word Sabbath is not in Genesis 2, I could correct him on that because I did my due diligence as it relates to relating the English to the Hebrew. So I educated a so-called scholar as it relates to the Hebrew word Sabbath in Genesis 2 and Genesis 3. So I want to make sure you understand. I didn't just read in English and I have no knowledge of the Hebrew. I never said that. I do have some knowledge of the Hebrew and enough for me to defend my position.
Okay, I actually don't recall what Pat's training is actually in off the top of my head, regrettably. Can somebody
I don't know.
Historian / archaeologist.
Historian / archaeologist. If you give him a whip and a hat, can we call him Indiana Jones?
I'll
Yeah, you
allow
could
it.
do that. You could do that. He should do some movies instead of trying to educate people on the Hebrew scriptures.
I'm just saying that your
You should-
description of his specialities and what he's trained in is not very good.
You should all go watch that debate. It was it was classic.
No, it was. But the thing is, again, I challenge Mr. Raging Atheist to give me 1 point Pat made. I could stipulate every single point Pat made. I doubt the Raging Atheist can give me 1 point.
That was a debate a long time ago, dude. I can't remember a point from a debate I watched 2.5 months ago.
Wow.
I watch a lot of debates. Do I need to sit? Should I sit here and give you every point Matt Dillahunty makes on every debate that he's participated in?
No. But I'm saying,
No, can I not watch a debate and have an overall remembrance of what I watched and have an opinion upon what I watched?
If you cannot give me 1 point that was stipulated,
I can't.
Here's the point. If you're gonna come on if you're gonna say something on the panel and say, "Oh, I always say I win a debate," and that's not the case, and you're not able to give me 1 point on a topic that I'm sure you remember is about the 7-day cycle, so you cannot give me 1 point because everybody heard that his position was it came from Babylon. So you should at least give me one reference. One. I've
talked with you about this 1,000 times. How am I gonna know like what Pat said compared to what Cerberus Hex said compared to what I said compared to what Jason Torn said? I've seen you. I've seen so many people obliterate your arguments.
I know.
Funny. Am I supposed to remember every one?
So how about you give me one example of one person ever arguing against my points? Give me one example.
I just gave you several examples of several
an
people.
Argument. I didn't say a name. Give me an argument. Give me an argument.
There was several. I'm
just gonna say, I'm just jumping in. There's a 5-minute warning on this, and then we're gonna move on because we've all heard Terry and Rage talk before. So
yeah, we've done this 1,000 times. I don't know why you're so focused on me. You got so many new people you haven't talked to yet. But like your claim of a universal 7-day calendar being adopted by every nation of the world has been thoroughly debunked time after time
Which nation doesn't have it?
I can't remember the particular nations that Cerberus said. I can't remember the particular nations that so many different individuals have said.
Sentinel Islands, Hopi Indians, Aboriginal Australians, the list goes on and on.
Those are not nations. They're not countries. My argument is predicated on every country being submitted to a 7-day cycle. And this, even a 5-year-old child.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. No, we've got royalty.
Terry, when the
Bible
Bible uses,
I don't want to talk to you, Richard. You're weird.
When the Bible uses the word nation,
if I can just say, now you were warned once, Terry. You were warned once. All right, about personal attacks.
I'm sorry.
No, don't give me a disrespectful sorry. There's no emphasis in that. You don't need to say sorry because I know you're not. I'm just telling you, don't do it again. That's 2. Third time, you're gone.
Strike. I'm out. No problem.
So Terry, you understand that in the Hebrew, the word that gets translated into the word nation in the English is the word goy or goyim. Yes.
Yeah, but it's not in the verse I'm appealing to. But go ahead. What's the verse I'm appealing to?
I don't know of an exception to this.
Can
you point out the exception where nation does not mean goy?
Gentiles could be nations as well.
Gentile are also goy, yes.
No,
Do you
Gentiles.
know what the word goy means?
The word ger is used for Gentile as well.
Do you know what the word goy means?
I gave you an example, ger.
That's
the Hebrew word
not
ger.
the question.
So you can't give me just an off-the-cuff definition, please?
You said that Gentiles also mean goy. I just told you no. It also means ger.
And what is that word rooted in?
I just told you what it said. Ger can mean strangers or nations. But what's your point?
So it's not rooted in the word goy.
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm just going to double check that. And are you talking about New Testament or Old Testament, that term?
If I say ger, Hebrew obviously is the Old Testament. Because the New Testament is not in Hebrew.
I missed that you said Hebrew. Perhaps you were overspeaking me when you said it. You have a habit
I
of
wasn't.
doing that.
No, I wasn't.
Richard, I think you may have been out for a smoke or something. We were discussing the Hebrew language right before.
And you see how I educated them on the word ger? You see? Because I actually appealed to the Hebrew as well. So Mr. Richard wanted to make a point, but you should come prepared.
Prepared for what? An open panel to just have he didn't know you were going to be
Yeah.
here. The only person I knew was going to be here for a fact was Scott. Let's farm probably, and yeah. But
No, what I meant is if he's gonna try to disprove me, I do your verification first, so that way you don't look bad. Because if I clip this, it's not gonna
I don't look bad. You're just claiming I look bad. Actually, the majority of the time the word gets translated as nation. I'm correct. It's goy or goyim.
I never said it's not one of the words. There's many words for nations.
Okay,
There's
so
certain words.
when you're
There's certain
referring,
words in the Torah, the first 5 books, that uses the word goy, and later after that, after the first 5 books, they use a different word. There's different words used at different times.
how much percentage of the text is the first 5 books? Would you say?
The word goy.
Would you say the first 5 books is some 80% of the text?
What text?
The Bible.
80% of the text. The first 5 books is 80% of the text.
Wouldn't you say that the New Testament is rather thin compared to the Old Testament, the Tanakh?
I said the first 5 books. The Old Testament is not only 5 books.
I understand that there's also the Nevi'im. I get it.
But why you say 80% of the text?
Wouldn't
okay,
you
we're
say
going in
it's
circles.
a
No, we're
large
going in circles.
percentage of the
I'm
text?
bored. I'm bored as shit. It's not fun anymore. Not fun.
I just wanted to make the argument that if you're going to appeal to the word nations, the nominative use of the word nations is actually goy, which means any non-Jew.
Boom.
Any
Correct.
non-Jew. Okay, so when you say the nations are on a 7-day cycle, and then I say the Aboriginal Australians are not, are you saying the Aboriginal Australians fall under Judaism when you say they are? Because they're not.
Is there rain in someone's background?
I'm making a pot of coffee.
Ah.
Yeah, first of all, the text I'm appealing to, for example, Ezekiel 20:20 doesn't use the word goy or nations. It's basically by deductive reasoning, and I'm not going to argue this again multiple times. The point is, every country in this world keeps a 7-day week, and by extension, it doesn't matter what you do in your little corner. If your nation or your country has an official calendar that is 7 days, then you're also subject to Jesus Christ, since you're under their sovereignty. That's the point. That's deductive reasoning.
Thank you.
But again,
Perfect. The great wee point there to
Thank
end.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, it's terrible, and I'd love a chance to refute that.
Oh, Richard, I will give it to you for 5 minutes tops because I love the bones. Yeah, and then moving on.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry. You said Ezekiel what? Terry?
Ezekiel 20:20. I've done this multiple times already.
2020. And where else?
That's good enough.
No, it's not. Not for your full argument. Could you give me the rest of the stuff?
It's
that you
good
quoted for
enough.
Full argument.
If you don't know what deductive reasoning is, that's your problem. It's good enough. Read it and tell me what you.
Peace and respect, Bree.
Hey guys.
James and you both arrived at exactly the same time, but yeah, maybe
There's a lot of newcomers. I'll just go ahead and let that go, MathPig.
Thank you.
It's pointless to teach them anyway.
Is that Terry?
It is. It is.
Wait.
It is.
Wait. Yes, it is me.
Your face says it all. Scott, I would like to get Scott's opinion on Terry's interaction that he's just had. Terry, you're not allowed to refute. I'm asking an opinion of Scott. I'm not asking him to fucking argue with you. And then I'd like to address all the new people who have come in. So Scott, as a person who has just come in and met Terry for the first time tonight, spends their time debating Christians and talking these topics, your thoughts on Terry and his argument?
Well, I mean, he's, as far as his interaction skills, I mean, he's very confident. He's really outspoken. He's passionate about whatever he's talking about. As far as content, I mean, I haven't heard much of his work. I haven't seen your work, to be honest with you. So I don't really say I could say anything about that. But I do know, and again, I'm not a Bible scholar by any chance. I'm just a very simple Southern boy, just a Southern boy. My thing is, you know, there's scholars that dispute like whether Daniel's a forgery or not. You know, there's scholars that dispute that stuff. There's the documentary hypothesis. that scholars often, refer to, that the Pentateuch had all these, at least 4 different sources. How do we pick which one we should? Which really, for me, is just a simple person. My questions and interests are, why should we think that any part of the Bible has anything to do with God at all? That's just my questions that I have, and I explore this all the time with theists. And just so far, I haven't seen any convincing evidence for that.
Do you have a channel?
So, not really. I have a channel called The Discussion that I just use to bring people on and talk about stuff, from time to time, but not that regular.
Because I would like to have a discussion with you, because it seems like we have never been acquainted, and I would like to take your challenge and have a discussion with you and explain to you why I believe that you should be a Christian.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Those are usually the kind of discussions I have.
I'll leave you my channel in the chat set, just
right,
in case if you're interested.
Okay, cool.
Chide set, nice. Sorry, I do the same thing. I actually thought it was legitimately.
A personal bit of advice. I always feel that, it's best to not approach every conversation with a new person as a challenge, as an introduction, as a conversation, as a discussion. But here, no, you can do what you want, Terry, but just this is me and promoting my channel and doing this. I personally think that, that's the wrong outlook.
No, I agree with you. Sometimes I get too, because, I believe like this is a war of information, so I'm always...
Dude, I
always
literally think your body makes its own amphetamines. Like, it's fucking... You're always on the go. Like, I don't know what's going on.
But I agree with what you said. I should be a little more, less defensive, but there's not much time, and I feel like there's a war of information. So that's the reason why I'm really passionate about what I say.
I understand.
If you don't talk to your kids about lithiophetamines, someone else will. Terry will.
I have no children, so glory to God, I have no children.
I'm sure a lot of people, both religious and not religious, just agree. Glory to God, Terry doesn't have kids.
Yeah, glory to God.
Amen.
Yeah. So we finally
everyone should have an amen on that. Yeah.
We finally agree on one thing.
If I can, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Jill in the bottom corner 2 questions. Number 1, would you like a hug? Number 2, original topic, which we started on. Is it possible to think for themselves? And could you open your argument or statement with a definition of think for themselves?
Oh, I'm waiting for this.
What? Wait. Too many questions, MathPig.
Two questions was too much for you, and the first one was a joke.
Why don't you take the questions and break them down and repose them one at a time to him?
The first one was a joke, and the second was...
I agree with what's his name? Terry.
Oh,
I agree with Terry that he has most likely, I would say, studied more of the Old Testament than some scholars. Especially the liberal scholars.
So you're not, hold on, I'm just going to confirm this. You're not going to answer my 2 very simple questions. Number 1, do you need a hug? And number 2,
No.
the whole point of the stream and what we started with, is it possible to think for yourself? And can you open it with a definition of that, please? That's too much for you.
Think for yourself. I don't know what that means.
Even Terry figured it out.
Well, it's an individual question. I think he's answered.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do we need to break
I
it
don't know
down
what
for
that
you?
would mean. I mean, who are you?
Oh shit!
Right.
So,
That was my question. What do we mean by the self?
You're just made up of your collective bunch of experiences. That's who you are.
Right. That's what I said.
So you're not really thinking for yourself.
You're just expressing whatever that experience
Okay,
is.
so this is the
mental
topic
state
that
or
came
whatever.
up. So then we then give a definition, and my definition of thinking for oneself is being aware of your past experiences. When you come across a new situation, you analyze it. You think if you've been through something, for example, that's been close to this, and you then make a decision and move forward. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, everyone does that. But are they really thinking for themselves?
Right. Well, this is the difference that I put a caveat to it, right? So I would like your opinion on this. I come across a situation, For talk's sake, to make an example, it's a work situation. And the person hands me a guidebook, a rule book for work plus the manual for the machine that I'm working. It is beneficial for me in that situation to adhere to the rules of the rule book. So I'm not technically thinking for myself, I'm adhering to the rules of the rule book. Would you agree with that?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Do you think then in life, when you're out and you're experiencing your own personal experiences without somebody standing above you telling you what to do, that you should adhere to a rule book and a standard guide of practice?
That someone stood over you and told you about before you had that
No.
decision.
When I'm at work, I have a boss. I fuck up, he sacks me, right? When I'm out walking around and buying sweets in the shop, it's a different situation. And I'm asking you, in work, we agree that it's beneficial to go by my rules and the manual for the machine. And do you think that in real life, it is beneficial for you to do that as well? Because that would be the opposite of what I think is thinking for oneself.
Well, to think it seems as though you're going against the rules would be thinking for oneself.
No, going against
That's
the
not
rule book.
necessarily the case.
I was very clear on what I thought a rule book was and broke it down. Everybody agreed.
Where did the rule book come from?
The people at work, they give me a rule book for rules for work.
So someone is standing over you,
At
telling
work,
you what to think.
I keep saying at work, right? And I'm asking you, would you apply the same logic to your actual life as you walk around?
Well, the Bible is the keystone to our faith and practice.
Right. So
So
your
that would-
definition that you said you agree with me on is different because your definition has a caveat that you must, there's a rule book.
Right, just like you're following what you were taught, standards and norms, and that became your rubric. We're following what we were taught.
Right. Well, my rule book chops and changes because I get given new information. I grow up. I learn things differently. I find out I was outdated on this. My rule book that I would use has a section at the end called notes where I can update information and make that part of my pattern. So as I used as an example earlier, walking out in front of a car. I did that once just to see what it felt like. People told me it would hurt. I didn't believe them. Bang, got hit by a car. Right down in the rule book, definitely true. Do not walk out in front of a car. If I walked out in front of a car and it didn't hurt me, I could write down a different rule. Holy shit, I'm the Hulk. I'm now a superhero. I'm open to these options. My rule book changes. Yours doesn't.
Well, thank God, God created a real world in which we wouldn't have to test out getting hit by a 1,000-pound vehicle.
Could
You
God have
should
created
go
an
argue with
imaginary
Praise
world?
right now. He's right out there saying reality's not real right now, live. You'll get him. You'll get
I
him.
can
God
confirm
created
you
a
get
real
hit by a
world.
car hurt.
Yeah, we have scales and we can weigh and we can know that two items colliding, one's going to be damaged and the other one's going to be damaged some, but not as much as the one that was lighter than.
Yeah, but I think his point
don't
isn't.
need to.
I don't think he's literally talking about walking out in front of a car. I think he was just making a silly analogy to tell you that thinking for his rule book entails adapting to new information. That's all he was saying.
Thank you, Scott, for doing a better example of what I was trying to do.
Sure, yeah, we adapt to new information also.
But the car would explain so much about MathPig, though.
Funny story, my mother has drove over my feet twice, and thank fuck for steel toe cap boots.
I just now realized I'm in the show. Hi, guys.
Terry left, I brought you in, Terry came back. He had, I'm trying to rotate as best I can. So if Terry, if you're still in the background, we'll get you back in when someone leaves. But thank you, James, for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
So my rule book recently has changed, just as a direct reference to Jesus is Lord.
Can I make a prediction about your Rubik?
My Rubik?
Rubik.
Yeah, can I make a prediction, a prophecy about your Rubik?
My rule book?
Rubric.
No rubric is your
Yeah.
method for.
I also did mishear originally the word rule book as the word rubric, so that also
I have
happened
an
to me
accent,
initially.
and I'm not. Yeah, I have an accent, and I thought Jesus is Lord was talking about a Rubik's cube, and I was like, "What the fuck's he talking about?"
No, you said rule book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
rule
my
book.
goodness.
Right?
Either way, I can't solve it.
Yeah, we're all. This
Either
is
way,
okay.
whether it's a rubric or a rule book, it's going to change.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, my
rule book.
rule book, Underword used to say, Jesus is Lord. Wind him up, make fun of him, give him shit, and then leave. All all of that has been it's all been scrubbed out now, and all it says is give the man a hug. That's all it says.
And when I say change, I mean it's fundamental. The fundamental underlying ethics of your morality will change.
I realize you want the attention regardless of what's going to happen, so I'm going to show you love. I make that choice to not fight you anymore and show you love, because you're going to get the attention regardless, and you want the attention, so I'm going to give it to you, but I'm going to give it to you with love.
I second that. I'm offering love for Jesus is Lord tonight.
I ain't.
No, not
I
fuck
will.
that shit.
I will.
I'll give hugs. Chat gave me a lot of hugs, so I got extra hugs.
Yeah.
Hugs.
Awesome.
Thoughts and prayers, brother.
So you got love here, Jill. That's what we wanted you to know. People do care about you. Not knock, but people.
We love you.
You know, you guys are going to ruin his Christian persecution complex. Keep this up.
No, we don't have a Christian. If you want Christian persecution, Christianity is still the most persecuted religion on the planet. You'd have to go to other countries.
China,
communist
especially,
countries,
yeah.
China.
Put them in camps and stuff like that. It's horrid.
That's persecution.
Except that it's Muslims that's happening to. They're mostly
Well,
right.
it happens to Muslims too, but he's not wrong. They are doing it to Christians
So
as well.
to continue
Sure.
along that line of questioning before we get into who gets picked on more, right? Jill, on that, when we're talking about rule books and stuff like that, and the ability for my rule book to change where your rule book doesn't. You said you can adapt and can change. We personally, as a group of atheists, agnostics in this, see that that's contradictory because it's the Bible. It's been that way for 2,000 years. So could you explain how you can adapt and change and give me an example of when you did?
Can I just real quick? I want to say that when he was saying rubric, he's talking about something totally different.
Fucking rule book. Rule book.
I know, but what Jill thought you were saying is actually a thing. It's actually a real concept called a rubric. That's like the direction on how to do like a church service and things like that. So like how to conduct yourself.
Well, yeah,
or how to grade like an assignment or something. That's the usage I'm most familiar. Honestly, I think the words were similar enough that I don't think that much meaning got lost in,
I got the context.
the mistranslation.
Even though they're both saying different things.
Nope.
I hate you all.
Richard,
I'm
Yeah, it's
fucking
the same
Irish. I hate you all.
Method for grading stuff. Yeah.
Richard, you'd know this. Is heaven cube shaped? I've heard
Spherical.
that before. It's
They
spherical
get that
stuff.
from the idea that it's four square, but it just refers to the cardinal directions. It's only necessarily as four square as the Earth is, and then when it says there's measurements for heaven, it says you can measure the same distance in every direction. Definitionally, a sphere.
Yeah. All right.
All right, fair. Because I was
it's not
hoping
a
it was
book.
cube shaped.
I really want to hear Jesus as Lord explain how the Bible allows him to change his opinion and give me an example of it. I'm really sorry about that, but please.
Yeah.
Well, I changed my opinion about things that are inconsequential, but the ethical standards of the Bible are enduring.
Okay, again, you're just making a statement, and I asked you a direct question. Can you show me how the Bible allows you to do that? And can you give me an example? I've got partially the first part.
Yeah,
Can you give me an example?
I mean, the ethical standard would be to preach the gospel, but I can decide where I preach it or how I preach it, if I want to do it on the internet, or if one day I want to go to the mall and preach the gospel. But the ethical standard is to preach the gospel. That will never change.
Okay, say for talk's sake on your opinion of talking to certain people you disagree with. I'm sure there's people on the panel that would say they made an agreement to never talk to a Nazi. And then people maybe talk to a Nazi. they've changed their opinion because they met someone who was open to that, yet still had the same stance. Have you ever changed that? Have you ever done anything similar along them lines?
As far as morality, right and wrong, no.
No. I'm asking, have you ever, I'm never going to talk to this type of person, and then changed to, I'm going to talk to this type of person because I've met a person that breaks your rule book, breaks the standard of what your rule book says? Have you changed an opinion?
About talking to someone. I mean, if the person is, hostile, depends on the situation. If the person is being hostile or has a gun.
See, I find it funny because you know exactly what I'm talking about and you're laughing. And everybody here in the panel knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to ask, say, Knock, just for a random example. Knock, do you know of Jill?
Person didn't show love. That's gonna be
Oh no, this is tough love. This is Irish love.
Tough
This
love.
is still love. I hugged him. Now I'm going to elbow him.
No, I love Knock. I love Knock to death.
Knock, are you there?
Yeah, I'm
Right.
here.
Have you ever heard Jill make a statement and say, I will not talk to X type of person?
Oh, you mean like the old school raging atheist rooms where you refuse to talk to women?
So you have heard Jill make statements that say, I will not talk to this particular type of human being.
Yes, I have.
Have you seen Jill in maybe this last 6 months do anything different than that statement?
Yes, he speaks with women now.
Right. So, Jill, me throwing you a fucking bone and trying to show you're not a cunt has now changed his
gross.
opinion from not talking to women to talking to women.
Well, no, actually, that's not true. The statement I made was I don't debate.
You
So if someone says
motherfucking
something to me-
pedantic
Well, no, you-
little lying shit.
That was.
You would literally not speak to women
Yes.
in my rooms. It became an issue.
I have had women
And
in
then
my
you would say,
panels
I
who-
don't
there.
talk to women. Like,
In
don't
the
make me
fights
clip
that I
that shit.
remember.
Yeah, Jill, don't, like, seriously.
You-
Just be fucking honest. No, don't play the game. Just be fucking honest. We're giving you a
Yeah.
bone. You have actually changed your opinion and become a slightly nicer person. Take the fucking compliment and
Or
admit you did it.
Talked to your wife about it, and she said, "Hey, engage with these women who are coming at you with these arguments." Maybe that happened. It's fine too.
That's not that necessary.
All right, you really do not like the love.
I think you care about your wife enough to that you would take her opinion about these conversations. I think that you respect her enough to listen to what she has to say about your engagements with us.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think he does. You love your wife, right, and respect her.
No, we just don't think it's appropriate.
Wait, you the first word after she asked that question should not have been the word no, even if you were answering a different question.
Yeah, we Christians don't think that it's appropriate. Men should in
to love and
public
respect their
square.
wives.
The men belong in the public square.
Yeah, but if your wife wanted you to put a message out for her, engage with a certain person on her behalf, would you?
No, she would do it herself.
So you would let your wife come in here and engage with us?
Yeah, she's been on.
She was on
Skylar
Skylers.
Fiction.
She's been on Skylers. That's what I'm addressing in the chat.
I mean,
Maya
is
says
that-
that she
is-
doesn't believe you have a wife. Jill's wife actually did make the effort to come on Skylers. Skylar was very respectful. There was a couple of wee jokes and
Well,
stuff.
to clarify, a hostage that
Exactly
And then she left to go make him a sandwich.
to clarify, a hostage that claimed to be Jill's wife came on to Skylar Fiction. A hostage.
Well, I
You
mean-
can't forget that important part of it.
I don't know.
Is
I've
that a
heard Jill
moral-
say like nice things about her before, though. I don't think that
I
he-
kid with Jill. I think he's got a wife. I just don't think
Been
he's
on
black.
Praise's channel before. I've been on several channels before and spoken to. I work with women, so it's
Is
not
that a
about
moral
speaking
stance?
to women.
Is that
It's-
a moral stance to not teach?
That just sounds ridiculous, but you can create that type of
Is that like a moral
Absurdity.
stance? Would you say?
Oh well, yeah. I think Christianity displays the same type of restraint that
Right, and so your fundamental morals will not change, right? They're going to always, because they're objective and they're standard, right?
well there
So
are
what you're saying
standards
is-
that are. You just asked
so
me a
what-
question. There are standards that we cannot budge on. There are morals, ethical standards
Right.
that, And then there are things that we can decide to do as Christians that other Christians may be okay with, or we may decide not to do. That's a
But those
personal
are
decision, right? So we
are
have the
those
freedom
things
to practice certain things that are not necessarily offensive to God, but maybe someone else may not find that
so I think what
they practice.
I think what the point is that, you know, those sort of moral issues that you say are unchangeable, you know, they're immutable,
Right.
that encompasses and is entailed in the Word of God, is it not?
Right. But speaking to women is not one of those moral issues.
That's what
not
I asked.
not
That's what I
a
was asking.
right. That doesn't draw any line of
Okay.
demarcation whatsoever.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Okay.
Right.
So that answers that. So basically,
Right.
you're willing to change your
It's not
understanding of certain declarations or biblical examples, maybe.
yeah, when I go to work. Right. 98% of teachers are female. So that's just an absurdity. to suggest
And
sort
what's
of
your phrasing for that? What, 98% of teachers in America, 98% of teachers in your school, 98% of teachers in the world?
I would say, I don't know. I would say, at least in my state, seems that way at least.
I
Are you in
have
the South?
That
awful.
that number, I do not buy that number.
Well,
I
since
don't
it-
agree with that number where I grew up. I had maybe 10 teachers, I had 3 women teachers, and one of them was home economics, you know, and the other was art. So that's a very stereotypical, expected over here when I grew up that time frame. So it was
So
a
you're in Iowa,
completely
right?
different standard to what. So I'm just wondering where your 98% comes from.
It doesn't come from your country. You're not in America. You don't live in America, do you?
Thank fuck.
Okay. Oh, I'm talking about America. American school teachers are traditionally women.
So I have a question about that. So Jill, with that being the case, and a lot of students in America being Christian students, are you worried about their future moral infrastructure, that they're growing up being educated by women who maybe need to like learn their place in our society? Is that how you feel about that?
That is their place, teaching children,
Just not teaching adults?
biblically and traditionally.
He said biblically. Oh.
When do they? So when does a student, like a male student, for instance, become beyond what a woman should be allowed to teach and to try to tell what to do? What is it?
I
18?
don't think there's an age limit. Some cultures place that number at 10, some 12.
When do you feel like it was for you in your growth and childhood?
Well, both parents are. This is why gay marriage doesn't work, because both parents are necessary in the upbringing or the rearing of the child. So,
Did you have both parents?
yeah.
Yeah. So when did you pass from your mother's tutelage to your father's?
I'd say as soon as the boy is strong enough to where he can overpower his mother, that's when the
Physically?
man should step in and teach him how to be a man. Yeah. If he's 10 years old and he's pushing mom over, then
So is that a rite of passage, beating up mom?
he needs to know he needs to know what to do with that strength, right?
I would like to interject and point out that if it is a marriage, then both parents would be at home in a gay marriage, Joe.
Well, hold on. Let me just.
That was working, huh?
Did
Yes, they're on welfare, Section 8.
was your mother or your father more the disciplinarian when you were small and when you were a child?
Oh no, the father is the disciplinary.
So your mom never like put you over her knee or anything growing up?
Oh, of course.
So that
I gotta
at
tag
that
out.
point to where your mom stopped being the one who could be able to put you over the
father
knee.
is the
See you later.
Primary.
I'll see you later.
Oh, bye,
See ya.
Scott. Sorry, I didn't mean to
I'll probably be back later.
dominate the conversation.
It doesn't mean both parents or both mother and father can't do those tasks or task or whatever you want to call them.
My daughter at work already told me and knows it as a 5-year-old. Driving home in the car, she was like, "Daddy, do you want to know something? I want something to tell you." I was like, "What?" She's like, "Do you know you don't need a mummy and a daddy? It's all right to have 2 daddies, 2 mummies. As long as you've 2." That's the point that she got from that. And I'm shortening the version. It took 20 minutes to get what she meant. But there's people at school that she works with, or that she goes to school with in her group, that have this situation at home, that have brought this up. And this is a conversation that 3, 4, like a 5-year-old is having. And she told me that it doesn't matter as long as there's 2. That's her stance on it. And I would agree with that. It's better to have 2 parents. Not that I was raised by a single parent. Don't get me wrong. I turned out totally fine. I'm a lovely person. You know, it is better to have 2 parents. And it's, like a 5-year-old can figure that out now, Jim. It doesn't matter.
You had paternal figures in your life, Robbie.
I said man and a woman.
I know you said a man and a woman. I'm telling you, you're wrong. Fabio, thank you very much for coming in. It's been a while. I've missed you. When Jill's finished doing his rant, the floor is yours.
Okay. I'm not ranting.
You always rant. That's why we love you.
I'm just.
It's all love, baby. Go ahead.
So were either your parents teachers, Jill?
No.
What made you want to be a teacher? Because I mean, we just think of it as, like you said, traditionally thought of as a female role, but you decided, I'm going to take up that mantle and be a teacher. What made you desire that?
Well, you want to help people. You want to educate. You want to teach them what not to do, what not to follow, what rule books not to follow.
Yeah. How old were you when you decided you wanted to be a teacher?
I've always wanted to.
Always?
Yeah.
Were you an athlete?
I guess you could say that somewhat.
What was your sport?
Football, baseball.
Yeah. Did you get to play on like the A list on it, or I don't know, what A team on any of those?
Oh, varsity. I mean.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, when you went to college, did you continue to play sports?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm not trying to dominate the conversation here. If anybody has any other questions for them, I'm just trying to understand a little bit who Jill is. Are both your parents still alive?
Okay.
That's maybe a wee bit personal. I can understand if you don't want to answer that.
Well, I just lost my father recently, so I don't know if you don't feel comfortable answering that. That's fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable answering that.
That's fine.
Totally understandable. Nobody here is going to be an ass, except me.
Oh, I say recently. It's been like 10 years ago, but it's still I still.
Well, that's why, Jill, I don't know if you heard this earlier. My wee girl has decided, and she made a point. Now, I don't know whether you want to agree with this or not, but she's made a point of deciding to believe in God.
Oh, good for her. You're who? You said you're what?
My daughter has been raised by both me and her mother. Her mother is a cultural Catholic from Northern Ireland. Her grandmother takes her rosary to bed at night and stuff like that. So she is raised around a certain type of relaxed religion, not fundamentalist or anything like that, but she's aware of it. Her grandfather died approximately coming up on 2 years ago. She was very close to her grandfather. He lived with her before he passed away. And after assembly at school, they are given the choice to go and have a prayer or go and pray if they want or not. And my daughter has come to the point where she had this conversation with me last week where she told me that she has decided to believe in God because she misses her grandfather. And believing in God from her, like, nobody's forcing religion on her. She's just picking all these things up. Right? She sees God as a facilitator to talk to the people in heaven. She's always been aware that her grandfather is in heaven. We haven't discussed hell or anything like that. I just let it be. But the people in her class, other 5 and 6 year olds, get to talk to their dead relatives when they pray. And she misses her grandfather. So she is now decided, and she made a point of saying to me that it was a decision, because of the fact that she misses her grandfather. What is your opinion on that?
That was my direction I was trying to take it about losing parents you love. Sorry, I just had the afterlife. Yeah.
I ramble and overtalk a lot.
No, that's okay. I just didn't know. I was just trying to approach Jill about it in a way that we could all relate to losing a parent. Go ahead, Jill.
Biblically, it's a super sweet idea, but biblically, it's incoherent.
Which is 5. Also, I keep feeling
I didn't say correct a 5-year-old. I'm talking to adults here.
Right, Jill, give your opinion on that really quickly, and I do want to pass it over to Fabio. I heard a beep. Was that Jill?
My opinion on what? What was that?
The fact that my daughter has decided to.
Oh, no, I thought. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's
even
awesome.
though, from her point of view, God is not a person. God is basically a telephone.
That's fine. Yeah, she can get you saved.
Grab them when they're young. You don't care. Yeah.
Jesus is on the main line. Tell them what you want.
Now we did. She asked me that, and I told her because her mother's religious, and she knows that her mother believes in God. And I told her that I've spent 20 to 30 years on that phone, and nobody ever picked up on the other end. That's the analogy that I used to her. She still decided and is going to try it out, you know. But that's Thank you for your answer.
Important.
Fabio,
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question though. Do you think this is how most people become theists? Is this how it happens? Is this how people? Yeah, I'm asking you. Do you think this is normal?
There's
or
certain
do they have to be raised, indoctrinated. Or
there's certain decisions. Now, I think that is a natural setting in the school that she's at. We made it. Well, there was a conscious decision. There wasn't even a freaking decision. I told the child's mother, I am not sending her to the same school as the rest of her family, because the rest of her family go to Catholic-run schools that segment at a primary school level by sex, and then certain ones at a grammar level by sex as well. Boys school, girls school. I was like, no. And it's only Catholics, that's it, and all the rest of us. No.
Right.
She's going to the mixed school. Oh, everybody freaked out because of the script freaked out. Give me 1 second. It wasn't a discussion. She's going to the mixed school. She's going to this one. It accepts people from other countries. It accepts different religions. It accepts everybody. And that's the school that she went to. Her cousin's school's up the road, and they have to do a whole thing, and it's extra and all, but don't care. Not having this discussion. She's not going to a religious school that segments by sex.
Do you think there was ever a time when she didn't believe in God?
When her grandfather died, she stood out the front and waved everybody in. She was like, Granda's dead body's in there. Let everybody know. She has a thing with her dolls where sometimes she'll put one in the corner, and it freaked my mother out one time because she came back with only one doll. My mum asked her where the other one was, thinking she'd lost it. She was like, no, Queenie died. She's in the kitchen. She's just dead. Played on with the other one. She accepts death quite readily. A dog in their family that they'd had for a very long time died young. She's also had her grandfather die, and an aunt that was her used to be around a lot. She's experienced death a lot for a 5-year-old, but she experiences it well. You know, she's been through it well. At her grandfather's funeral, whenever they were doing the family thing and everybody's hugging hands and all that, rather than my daughter running around being annoying, I went over into the freaking garden and there's trees and we're pulling bark off. We're looking for insects. We're having a day. There was nothing traumatic about it. It was just something that happened. Everybody dies. She went through it. By the end of it, I had like 7 kids all pulling bark off all the trees. I felt like a freaking teacher. But, you know, it wasn't a traumatic thing for her. She wasn't being shouted at from her mother because her mother's busy or anything like that. It was just a day. It happened. We went through it. She deals with it. When her granda went to the hospital to die, I picked her up about an hour afterwards to take her to my house for the weekend. And I tried to tell her, sometimes when you go to the hospital, you don't come home. And she was like, no. This time, Granda's not coming home. Granda's been a few times, Daddy. He's not coming home this time.
Yeah.
Granda's going to heaven. And she knew that. Like, she has experienced death an awful lot, but it's been a good experience for her. I don't know.
Right. It's yeah.
I keep trying to give it to Fabio and I'm rambling. I love my daughter too much.
Well, it just kind of like, the point of my question was like, if it seems like there was never a time that she didn't believe that she could recall, or that you recall, like, so she was sort of something she was born with, you might say.
Yeah,
this belief in God.
There's always been a presence of I'd say when our grandfather died. When our grandfather died, and she asked, "Where's Granda going, or what's the crack with Granda?" I would say that's the first incident of her actually being acknowledged about the afterlife of God or anything like that. Like, we've been to church, you do the funerals and shit, but up until 3, when it was really in her mind, I don't feel that she was aware of that. And all she knew was, when you're dead, you go to heaven. She didn't think about it. She didn't think of God. She didn't think of Jesus. It's just, you're dead.
Right.
We put your body in the box. But Granda, his idea of what she sees as a consciousness, he's in heaven.
Yeah.
And now she's at the point where it's like, Granda's gone this long time. She's now in a house with her grandmother and her mother, and sometimes her auntie. So she's in a house full of women all the time. She comes to my house and jumps all over the sofas and racks, and she's like, "Mommy doesn't let me." It's a different type of thing. And our Granda used to be like me. When he's being,
I can just hear apologists now saying that has a scriptural precedent. Like, we were born believing in God. It was self-evident.
I think it's not that we're born believing in God. When it gets to a certain point, we feel a need to create an area. We feel a want, we feel a desire. Fabio, right? We're going to tangent like fuck. Fabio.
Hey, how you doing?
Is he there?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Fabio.
Hello.
Hey.
How's yourself?
Shit. Thank you for asking.
Glad we got rid of Terry, though. That's definitely elevated your mood a wee bit better.
No. I mean, massive shit. Okay, carry on. Well, what you guys were talking about?
No, I just we've been talking. We've rambled on for a while, and I don't know if you were listening about the story with my daughter. You could talk about that. You could talk about Jill. Floor's yours.
No, I was listening. I mean, especially the last part of the conversation, I thought it was in the 13th century, but I guess to each his own, right? I mean, if somebody manages to live his life, like that, treating, other people like that, more power to you. I fully support you, especially because of the fact that there is a whole ocean between you and me. So I feel really reassured. So super fantastic.
Sending out the love to the great leader.
Yes. So, what was the topic of the evening?
The topic of the evening was, can you think for yourselves? Is it possible to think for oneself? Without influences or... Hi!
I think you can. It's not a big problem. I don't know if it's always advisable to.
That's exactly the analogy I made was when you go to work. Oh, I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah, I know that lady.
Just send it.
Well, Marty, have someone say hi to everybody. Can you do that? Or you're on OBS.
Hold on a second. I know that lady. I got to do this. Here she is.
Is it Fabio?
Hi, honey. How you doing?
Remember Fabio?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, baby.
He says, hey, baby. He says, stay strong.
Yeah. So
the analogy I used earlier, Fabio, was when you go to work and you're being trained at work, you have a rule book for work and a manual for the machine that you're using, so it's advisable to stick to the rule book and not think for yourself. But then when you move outside to go to the shop and you're in the real life, is it advisable to then stick to a rule book?
I understand the example. I know I was thinking about a more cruent example, like if somebody has if a surgeon has to make an operation on me, I would rather him, to follow the proper procedure instead of, in the middle of operation say, maybe it's better if I do this instead of that, and I just give it a try because, yeah.
So you would instantly put your faith in a medical profession to follow along with the rule book because they're a medical profession, yes?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah,
so, for example,
yeah.
I go to a fucking hospital and the silly bastards mixed up the paperwork and they had the surgery set up for my left hand when I'm getting a fucking pin in my right hand, and they don't realise till I'm in the elevator and ask me. You know?
Or, the electrician, which comes to make a job in my house and decides that, you know what, positive, negative, earth, it doesn't really matter. I'll do whatever the fuck I want because I think it's better. I wouldn't trust that guy too much. You know what I mean?
No, I was being fallacious. Yeah, I totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
People make mistakes. Our local hospital is called Daisy Hill, and they've made that many mistakes in the last 10 years. It's locally referred to as Crazy Hill.
Yeah. Now,
that's an anecdotal just thing. Yeah.
No, but I think that what you were hinting at, is the fact that, in everyday life, we are bombarded with, news and stuff like that. And a lot of people just, drink them. And I think that's pretty much natural. We tend to trust our sources. So, first of all, there is a thing to say. The fact that when we are presented news or meet another person or, have another ideas, things like that we have to decide, if we agree or not, most of our decisions are not conscious. They're just instinctive, right? So there is that. Then we try to fool ourselves into rethinking that and finding a justification. So even the ones that we think, oh no, I thought about it and I agree, most of the time is a post hoc justification of an instinct that we have. Now the interesting thing to me is to figure out what is that drives that instinct, and this is where it gets interesting. Because all of the studies seems to converge on the fact that the way we are educated, the experiences that we have, the environment that we live in, they form that strata that we use to immediately judge a situation or not. So what I'm trying to say is that it is not really important to justify the decision that we make, but it's really important to have a proper education on various topics, books, talk with people, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I think that the more generalized, the better it is, so that we can apply. Well, actually, we don't apply. We can use that filter that we all use.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with you, man. I never I might disagree with you.
Of course you do. And you agreed in the first 3 seconds because you like me.
I've missed you. I've genuinely missed you. That's I don't want to give you too much love and make your head too big. You've already got a fat neck thing going on with your icon.
No, it's okay. I mean, actually, I haven't missed you. So there you go.
You're welcome to not miss me. I'm not important in your life whatsoever. Unfortunately, I know very few smart people on the internet who want to have intellectual conversations, who can draw them in with their wonderful banter. And if I want to have an intellectual conversation on a great topic with a person like yourself, you scare people off. That's why I like you. Christopher, how are you? Sending love, sending hugs.
Doing as good as we can be doing. Mom's talking to her sisters right now on the iPad. Opie, what are you watching? Instagram? Pinterest? I just got done making the brajol, big fat pot of gravy. Tomorrow, some more families coming over. I'm gonna make a big ziti.
I don't want to make comments on how great of a chef you are, but you're probably still eating better than what you do at home. Mother's cooking's mother's cooking.
Yeah. So, just hanging out. Hey Fabio, it's good.
I do have my. I know you can't see it, but I've got my F50 Uncult badge here.
Let me see.
It goes along with all my other my poppies and my...
I love that.
There's a Stargate one in there as well. There's about 4 for the Second World War. There's one for my father's platoon. There's another one for Remembrance Day, and then you're stuck in with all of the rest of it. So you get an awful lot of it.
That's a good.
You're surrounded by dead bodies. Have you been listening, and what do you think on the idea of being able to think for oneself? As a person in the field that you're in, and you did show me your crazy sex machines. I mean sniff machines.
There's something to be said for protocols, standard operating procedures, but I think that you and Jill were talking past each other, because it just seemed like you were talking past each other in the sense that you were trying to set the standard of, I'm okay with being handed protocols from authorities.
I'm open to that, yeah.
Yeah. It seemed that when you were applying that to religion, Jill kind of perceived it differently. And like you using the work example kind of took it a little off track for me. Does that make sense?
Oh no, 100%. Whenever I say to people, I'm the most clearest person you'll ever meet, that's generally the exact opposite of what they had. I know between here and here, the clarity that works through it, and it comes out perfectly. It's not the same as everyone else's from here to here. It's clear to me, it's not always clear to everyone.
But I think the main point of the question being asked is, can you, should, like, not would you, but can you? Like, in situations where we're at our jobs, we are following other people's protocols. If the situation arises where you need to think for yourself, do you have the principled foundational knowledge to do so? That, to me, seemed the question that you were asking, and nobody just used those words.
Right.
Is that fair?
That is, it's 110% of the 100% that I was asking.
Okay.
I would agree with you that is a very good thing to do. Initiative is very important in the place that I work in. And as I said to you when we were, meeting and getting the hugs and all the rest of it, I've recently been financially promoted once and laterally promoted twice. I've now got more responsibilities, in charge of 2 factories and new paper system and all this bullshit, because I didn't like the way they were doing the shit at work, because stuff was getting lost. So I implemented a whole new thing. And it works, and it's better, and it's easier. So I do get what you mean, Richard. Or Christopher, sorry.
Mm-hmm. But I have to admit, when I was hearing you interact with Jill,
I was looking at Richard when I said Christopher, and Richard are basically both pink at the minute. So it's a visual thing.
Well, it just doesn't seem that Jill was answering your question from the perspective that you were asking it.
Oh, of course, it's Jill. Point. This is why we give him hugs.
Yeah, but he's still here, and he has an opportunity to, rectify the situation should he choose so.
Would you like to do that, Jill? Now that Marty has explained the situation, and Marty, now that we've got his attention, because he was probably not giving us the attention or pretending that he's not going to give us the attention, could you do a quick summary?
I don't. I did answer. I thought I did answer, but
I don't feel you did.
Well, then just say it again.
Well, we don't have a problem with rules. In fact, the Bible tells us to obey the laws of the land. Mm-hmm. But when those laws violate our law, we think for ourselves. Simply put.
I think that's an interpretation of the Bible.
If your law violates the Constitution,
not every Christian would abide by.
Also, if your laws violate the Constitution, we think for ourselves, especially the Second Amendment.
Yeah, that's not in the Bible, though. Come on now. Constitution
yes, it is.
To do with what we're talking. Don't stop yourself.
Also, I said also, not in place of.
You gonna kill some police if they come take them guns?
So if the Constitution violates the law, our law, the book, the Bible, then we think for ourselves. We resist that type of change. So we just don't go along with the mob just because the mob's in charge.
Scott's
You're
trying to
saying
see. If I can, Scott's leaning back and Scott's got. I'm watching Scott's lips move. He's trying to say something. So if we can, give Scott a wee moment to retort to that.
Yeah, so I would think, so you're just subjectively choosing your rule book, like we all are.
No,
You're
I didn't say
choosing. You're
subjectively.
the final authority. You are still the final authority.
No, the
at
book
the end
is.
of the day. No, you
No, if
are.
it
'Cause you
doesn't-
choose the book. You have the free will to choose the book or not.
I have the free will to choose the book. Okay.
Yeah, like to believe in God, for example, to do God's will, for example. You have the free choice for that, or no?
No, I would say no. It's a product of my environment, my surroundings, and when I say environment, I mean the Holy Spirit also. So it's a product
How do
of
you?
those experiences.
Gotcha. How do you tell the difference between your mind and the Holy Spirit?
How do I tell the difference?
Yeah.
My mind seems to tell me what will please me. The Holy Spirit seems to tell me what will please others. So that's how I can tell. But the Christians believe that the Holy Spirit is what teaches us all truths. That doesn't mean we don't have natural feelings like everyone else. But we know how to put those, the Holy Spirit helps us to put those natural feelings in perspective. It's proper perspective.
Okay. And so how do you know that part? Like, where do you get that from? Because it's all happening in the same mind. We're talking about imagination and Holy Spirit. All that stuff takes place in our perception. So how do you trust your perception so much?
Well, the same way we would trust anything else. Over time, it's demonstrated itself to be reliable. I mean, you can look at the prescriptions given in Scripture: do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, and you can test them in light of the social sciences, and it'll be determined even from a purely naturalistic perspective that they're optimal. So
Gotcha. So
it's just
you're just
more and more trustworthy every day. It's just proving itself over and over again to be optimal, at least.
Can you give me an example of that?
Oh, marriage.
But is marriage rooted necessarily in the Bible? Weren't there cultures outside of that practice marriage?
Even if that is the case, the Bible gives us the optimal prescription for marriage: one virgin woman, one virgin man. Can you find a better situation than that as far as the statistics are concerned? No.
Well, what I'm saying is that
Especially when it
there's
comes to
other
children.
cultures and there's other sources that do this, that promote the same idea. So I'm
Right.
just wondering, why is the Bible special?
No, the Bible isn't special when it comes to marriage or the flood, because the common, what they all have in common is a common inheritance. So yeah, I mean, that's just common sense. It's only recently, in this country at least, where we decided to go outside of that.
Is it possible that different cultures had different local flood stories, and that was the commonality that ties them together? Is that possible?
It's possible that they had different local. I believe that there were different local floods which made up the global "quote unquote" flood.
Oh, I see. So
What do you
you're
do when the stories are
interpreting.
different ages?
Different ages.
The stories are at different times. Yes.
I would say that could be the possibility, but the ones that
So
I'm
if they
thinking
don't
of
happen at the
are
same time, then how can they be a global flood?
well, the
Right.
ones that I'm thinking of are the Genesis account in Canaan, or what we would call
Okay.
Mesopotamia. Those don't necessarily have a date. The Bible doesn't have a date on its flood either, so I don't know where you're getting dates from. But
When did the flood happen? When did the Noah's flood
the
happen?
Bible doesn't say.
It doesn't say, but it had to be. It had to be within what time period?
Neither does the Erudu of Genesis or Gilgamesh. I mean, scholars try to determine when these things possibly could have happened, but there's no indication from the text itself.
Only because I'm not familiar with your beliefs. It couldn't be past 6,000 years, or are you an old Earth creationist or new Earth, young Earth rather?
I don't think the scriptures teach whether the Earth is old or young, or universe is old or young.
Okay, so you're saying the flood could be at any, for millions of years that thing could have happened?
No, I don't think millions of years. I think that's absurd.
Why?
I think for myself.
Okay, so you're just appealing to what makes sense to you.
Well, I just don't think millions of years. I mean, if there's some evidence of that, then yeah, I've heard the evidence that's presented. It's just not convincing.
Is it not convincing because it's not in line with the way you interpret your rule book?
My rule book doesn't say in one case or the other, so it's inconsequential as far as my rule book.
It's not even important.
Okay. An audio check, people.
Even if I wasn't a Christian, I wouldn't be convinced by the arguments for evolution in millions of years.
Your audio's not great. It's very, very muffled, Sammy.
Okay.
Switch off the Bluetooth headphones. Although the beard's looking very nice, and damn, it's lovely in Australia. What is it there, 11 in the morning? 12 in the morning?
It's 12, and it's fucking hot. I'm interested in Jill's statistics, because as far as I know, there's not many modern cultures that have polyamorous ways of living. So what are these statistics coming from? What are they comparing the traditional one man, one woman marriage to? And just as a second follow-up question, if the science one day showed that kids were growing up better, smarter, healthier, whatever you want to say, in these poly situations where they're sort of raised by a little community rather than just the one man and one woman, would you just say then, because it doesn't agree with the Bible, that the science was false, if that was the case?
Well, it's not the case. We've studied relationships, marriage and relationships, and we determined that
that's why it's a hypothetical.
And what do you mean by polyamorous? Do you mean one woman and 6 men?
Could I try and be a translator and
whatever?
Could I?
Anything.
No, that is.
Hold on, there is a delay.
Yeah,
Sammy is in
please,
Australia, so please do give. There is a big delay between Sammy and us, and he's talking to get the delay to let it catch up.
I do apologize for that.
No, you
I
can't
don't
apologize
mean
for
anything
being upside
specific,
down.
Bill.
If I can,
I don't have anything specific. I just mean non-monogamous.
If that were the case, then would it be something that could be considered? Sure. Along with traditional marriage, which has been demonstrated to work and be the best case for children, sure.
But again, compared to what? You keep saying that, but compared to what?
I'm comparing it to what we would consider in America to be non-traditional.
What's non-traditional though? I don't. America's like, because we're like a melting pot. We've had multi-generational families for most of the time that we've been a country. It's only been in the last 60 or so years that we've moved to this nuclear family idea.
Yeah, I guess
it's not biblical. I mean, a nuclear family is not biblical, right? It's multi-generational. It's more.
You know, it is actually.
Well, I mean, Jesus lived. His older brother lived with his mom, or James lived with his mom, and stuff like that. Seems like the model was multi-generational families.
No, the
typically
model
speaking.
is one woman, one virgin man, one virgin woman.
Maybe one of their parents or several of their parents, maybe an aunt or uncle.
They lived in
Um,
tribes. That's
and
tribal regions. And
You
yeah,
okay
they-
there,
But-
Scott?
even in
Yeah.
your Bible,
They're
Jill,
not swapping
it's
wives.
one man, one woman, except for when it's one man and however many women's wives.
Except when they
Correct.
disobey, yes. Except when Deuteronomy 17 is violated, yeah.
Well, even if it was true, let's grant that the nuclear family is the best scenario possible, and you interpret that, that's comes from the Bible or is in the Bible. Why does that make Jesus walking on water true?
Oh, it doesn't. I never said it did, but it does make the Bible give you the most optimal situation according to the social sciences. So
Okay.
why wouldn't God, who loves his creation, why wouldn't he prescribe the best case scenario for their lives?
Well,
That's all.
Well, it seems like it's kind of irrelevant because you can do that without the Bible.
You can, sure, but a good God is going to include all of those things that are going to be beneficial, not just the things that he came up with, quote unquote, first, but everything that's beneficial, the Bible is going to include to help those people at that time, the whole period in their lives. And when the
Well-
Bible was written, not to us, but for us. So it's enduring.
So I could just grant that every
Come up with all of it?
moral, hold on, I could grant that every moral platitude in the Bible was correct. I could say that all of its rules, all of its suggestions on how to run your life were all true. But that isn't the reason to believe the Bible's true. Like,
It's evidence the Bible.
it's not evidence. No, that's not evidence
evidence-
Jesus
okay.
walked on water.
For many, it's evidence that the Bible is divine rather than
Well-
merely human in origin. Human rule books fail miserably.
But we have to
The
play
Bible
by
has
the
not
rules of logic. I'm trying to play by the rules of logic.
Sure, if it's
So-
failing miserably all the time, then it's not a trustworthy rule book. If it's 100% accurate 100% of the time, it is. That's logical.
I could grant all that, but it's still what doesn't mean.
And it's
that
logical
I
to
should
follow the
believe
Bible
that-
then.
Hold on.
If it has
Still
the
wouldn't
track
mean. It still wouldn't mean that the extraordinary claims in the Bible were true, like the resurrection of Jesus. That isn't evidence for that.
Okay,
Just
even
because
if
it's
I
in the
did-
same
okay,
book,
let
it
me
doesn't
answer this
matter.
really quickly. Let me answer this. Even if I did not believe in the supernatural, it still would be rational
Yeah,
to follow
I agree.
what is what is optimal and what has shown to demonstrated practices to be optimal over the decades, over the centuries.
Where's it been
So
demonstrated?
common sense
That's where
dictates
if
that I
I
would follow
grant
that, even if I didn't believe in the supernatural. So you
Let's say-
you can appeal to your
Well, no,
Well,
anti-
but hold
I'm
on.
saying I
Everybody's
agree with
talking over everybody here. We're all.
you
What
can
the
appeal
fuck?
to your you can appeal to your anti-supernatural bias if you want to, but I'm just letting you know that is inconsequential when it comes to making a decision, a rational decision as to what rule book I'm going to follow.
But
That
that's not what I'm
sounded way more
talking about.
confident than you should be curious. Where is this evidence that you point to? Where has it been demonstrated that things that you think are actual things that match and map onto reality?
Well, let me just give you one. For example, married couples, Christian married couples who are virgins when they got married and are monogamous, as the Bible teaches, have a 0% STD rate. What do you go figure?
Also, go figure. Baptist Christians have the highest rate of divorce.
Baptist Christian, are they following one virgin man, one virgin woman, monogamous? No. And divorce is a sin. You don't divorce unless in case of adultery.
So we've
There's no
demonstrated
such thing as
that
no
even
fault
using the
divorce.
same rule book, there are different
They're
interpretations.
not using
of
the same rule book. You demonstrated they violated the rule book. There's no such thing as no fault divorce in Christianity.
Okay.
So if they
So
have
if you
no
talk
fault
to a
divorce,
Baptist
they're
Christian,
following your.
then they will agree with you that they're not following the Bible that you're following. Is that what you're implying?
Not following the Bible at all. They're
Is that
following
what you're attempting to tell me that they're
following
interpreting?
your.
Why
Yeah,
are
in
you
that case,
interpreting their interpretation of the Bible through my
in
letting
that
you
case,
know that data exists? Apparently,
that
data is
case,
important to you in a way that things can be demonstrated, and I'm demonstrating things to you in a way that you're squirming.
in your demonstration, you're demonstrating that they're following your rule book. No
I'm
fault
not.
divorce.
I don't have a
Which
rule
was
book.
created
What is
by
my rule
you,
book? Stop talking. What
which
is my
was
rule
created,
book?
which was
Stop
created
talking.
by
What is my
Jill,
rule book?
shush a minute.
goodness.
Swear to God, Sammy,
Stop
remove
talking.
the comment. Please remove the comment from the background, Sammy. I know you're doing the mod thing. Please remove that. It's freaking everything out. Jill, shush a minute.
Your rule book. Yeah. Oh,
Shush,
you
no,
wanna know
no,
what
don't
his
say
rule-
yeah and then talk over to me. Don't agree with me and then shush. Christopher was trying to get a point out. He was talking. You interrupted a few times. Please stop.
Oh no, I was just trying to answer
I
him,
don't.
and he
I'll
kept
just
talking
fucking
when
What's
mute
my
you.
rule book? You've mentioned that they're
I'm trying to
adhering
answer
to
him.
my
What's his
rule
rule
book.
book? And he keeps talking when I'm trying to answer him. So go
All
ahead.
right.
Ask me again.
What
So we
is
can
my rule book?
Okay.
As you
Your rule
understand
book.
it.
Oh my goodness. Your rule book.
You said
is
ask
what-
him again, and he tried to fucking ask you again, and you talked over him. Seriously.
Your
It's
rule
okay.
book.
Come
Your
on, man.
rule book is whatever you've been taught, whatever your experience taught you.
But
That's
that's
your
what
rule
you
book.
sound like.
Okay.
You
So
sound
when
like when other
so
people
so here
have
it
the
is.
same
So
rule
let me
book
ask
as
you this.
you are
Let me
using a
they
different
don't have you
interpretation
don't
and holding
just
that
because
at
you
a
have
standard that they are below.
you're missing the point. Just because you
No,
have
I'm
the
not
book
missing
in
the
your
point.
hand.
You're missing the point,
All right, let
son.
me show you
You're,
how. Just
you're not
because
addressing. Please,
just
you got
Okay. Now, Christopher, I apologize because the only way to do it was to mute everybody. So I apologize. Christopher, you have the ability to unmute. Go.
I want to give the floor to Jill, actually.
Jill, now you can unmute. There was too many people talking over each other. That was just letting out saying. He's give the floor to you, Jill. Feel free to unmute and talk.
There's a very good chance he's been talking this whole time and didn't hear a thing you said.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I
just as
get
a
a chance to
refresher,
finish my point.
Yep,
Just
there it
because
is.
you
Go
have
ahead.
the rule book, just because you have the rule book doesn't mean you follow the rule book. So you just saying you're throwing the arbitrary Baptist this, Baptist that, and it means in those instances they followed your book, your rules, your ideas, your concepts, and ideas have consequences. And yes, a Christian marriage can fall apart when they don't listen to the one who gave you the rules for or instructions for living, the one who created you, the one who knows best, the ones that statistics say are optimal when
you're
obey.
you're switching interpretation of a
obey.
sacred book with statistics. If you want to talk statistics, I'm here all day to demonstrate to you how little you know.
I just
about
gave you one, and I just gave you one.
You didn't.
0 STDs for those who follow one virgin man, one virgin woman. You responded with an adulterous couple, perhaps, who got divorced. For what reason?
Well, if we're talking about the value of a rule book, and both sets of people are following the same rule book, my argument is the rule book doesn't matter. It's your interpretation that does. And the fact that you keep putting the onus of responsibility on me, that it's my rule book, that I just interpret things how I want, I don't think that you're smart enough to realize it's exactly the point that you've been trying to make for the whole time. It's not the rule book, it's the way that you interpret it. Also,
I didn't say it was the way that you
Stop
interpreted it.
talking.
I didn't say it was. That's not what I said. Okay,
not
still man my argument, please.
That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead and still man my argument, because you're just
when I'm done. When I'm done making my
point,
point, I'll go ahead and do the thing that you want. When I'm done making my point, I'll go ahead and do the thing that you want. So, you saying that virgins getting married have no chance of STDs is like saying the best way to avoid a car accident is to never drive. It's not a statistic, it is a truism based on bullshit agenda-driven logic. So don't try to paint what you delivered to me as data.
Also, the people who obey.
Also, as if you were making a point. Also,
also, those who obey Ephesians 4, 5, and 6 have shown to have longer, healthier marriages. Also, those who are
I accept you avoiding my point as concession that you're wrong. I accept your concession. I accept
Are you going to
your
mute him while I'm
concession.
talking? Are you going to mute?
That you're
No,
wrong.
I'm going to mute you because it's funnier to mute you.
All right. So, also, if you look at
Can I?
Yeah, no, I'm done
Matt
having fun. Go on ahead.
Okay, so heterosexuals live a longer, healthier life than homosexuals. The Bible prescribes heterosexuality, so the Bible gives you
What's your metric for
optimal.
healthier?
Optimal.
What is your metric for optimal?
Well, if you want to look at the most new cases of HIV or homosexual men, if you look at the average
homosexual men, it's not African American women.
The average lifespan of a homosexual is 40 years, which is
it's not African American
lifespan of a
heterosexual women. Are you sure? I challenge the data that you're presenting to me.
I stepped away for 30 seconds, Joe. Oh my God.
Let's go to. We'll give you the data. We'll go to. What's your favorite? What do you want? The CDC on the new cases of AIDS. You need that. Do you accept the CDC?
I do accept the CDC as a reasonable. So
hold
on a second.
I'll send you the data from the CDC.
World Health Organization would be better, actually.
World Health, any one of them.
Okay.
The Bible gives us prescriptions that are optimal. Now, if two Christians, quote unquote, decide to go out and do those things and become a homosexual and they catch AIDS, you can't say, "Oh, it's the Bible." It's look at all these Christians who they have just as many AIDS cases. Yes, because they followed the wrong rule book. Amen.
Whether you realize it or not, you're putting forth the argument that unless somebody interprets the Bible the way that I do, they're not doing it correctly. All of your arguments.
It's nothing to do with interpretation. It's in the imperative. Do this. Do not do this.
Your interpretation that it doesn't require interpretation is an interpretation, dipshit.
Do not talk over me. That's in the imperative. There's no interpretation needed.
Exactly. That's why everybody else who thinks they're literalists disagrees with you.
Do not.
What do most scholars say about that?
Yeah, I'm
What
just
do
going to do
most
that.
biblical
Just no.
scholars say
He says don't talk over the top, and he's getting very annoyed. It's wonderful. It's brilliant. Joe, don't be so fucking angry. Just chill.
So, what do you know? How many biblical scholars would agree with your interpretation of the Bible on that topic?
It won't even really matter how many scholars are brought up because they're not going to agree with each other. Which is kind of your point, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, I mean it's all interpretation. I mean,
That's my point.
who you
determining that
on as
your
an authority.
interpretation is beyond interpretation is an interpretation. Like you can't get beyond it. You can't get beyond the point. Like it's arguing yourself out of a logical fucking.
Books don't interpret themselves.
There you go.
Was that purposeful, Scott, that you were quoting Jill's favorite phrase, or was that accidental?
I didn't know it was his favorite.
Oh
phrase,
yes.
so.
Oh
Really?
yes.
How ironical.
The Bible interpret itself. Yeah, that's his favorite thing to say.
Yeah, that's
impossible.
Circular.
That is one of the greatest things about Christianity. If you ask a statistician, Christianity is probably it's one of the most widespread religions in the world. And you know who will not agree with that statement? Christians. They're like Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, Catholics, Episcopalian, Protestants. I mean, and everybody, they do not agree.
Don't forget the
with
Amish
each other.
and the Mennonites.
Yeah, I mean, I can go on the whole night. So the funniest thing is that the Christians do not agree with that statement because they do not recognize each other. You know, everybody's got his own feeling about the book. And here's the funny thing about the book. So it is claimed that that book is given by a superior entity, you know, to the persons, either written directly or inspired. I mean, again, depends who you're asking, right? I have a manual over there on metallurgy that if I give it to Christopher, or I give it to MathPig, or I give it to the Raging Atheist, and I ask them, okay, what is the optimal, way to make a hole in this kind of steel, blah, blah, blah. They will all make the hole the very same exact way. My manual of metallurgy is way more precise than the bloody Bible. There is no interpretation in that manual. This is how you got to make the hole. This is how you have to proceed, and you will have the same result every fucking time. You give the Bible to 10 Christians, you will not have the same result every fucking time. It's a shitty book.
I'm still going to say you should use lubricant, coolant, and a 3-flute drill bit, no matter what.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Richard,
exactly.
Richard, if you could steelman what Christians mean by the Bible interprets itself. What do you think Christians mean by that?
It's just bad thinking. There is no meaning behind that. It's only bad
so
thinking.
You don't know. So you don't know what Christians mean by.
No, I know what you mean. It's just a logical fallacy because let me tell you then.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mean that you can read the clearer passages to interpret the less clear passages. The problem with this is that you're still using your brain to interpret it. So all you're saying really is, I like my bias and it will continue.
We're using our brain to interpret it, okay?
Oh, Richard, sorry to interrupt you, Richard. There is another problem before that. It also depends which language you read that book into.
So,
yes, the interpretations are another problem altogether. You are correct.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Right. So, for example, if it says the angel did this in one place, and then in another place it tells us who the angel is, our interpretation of who the angel is in that first place is dictated to by the second.
And so what do you do when one story says angel of God and the other one says Gabriel? And it's the same story. What do you do then?
I've never encountered such. Your interpretations, maybe.
I'm asking you to entertain the idea because it does exist.
You also changed the third chapter of the first chapter or the third chapter of Genesis.
If you want to critique my view, that's fine. But right now, I was giving you opportunity to defend your own.
Is there a scholar that puts archangels created in Genesis 3:1? Is there any? Do you know of any Hebrew scholar that does that, or just yourself?
I compliment you on your memory. No, I do not know anyone who agrees with me. I don't know that carries any weight.
So we do rely on scholarship. We do rely on those who have studied the text and the language and the culture.
Would you qualify that statement you just made?
So
what
it's an
scholarship do you?
Interpretation.
What
scholarship?
Certainly not liberal scholarship.
So the scholars who agree with you
differently.
Who have decided in the past.
Now I'm getting it.
30 years. Who have decided within the past 30 years that they were going to try
I'm getting it now.
Who have decided within the past 30 years that they were going to try to change, or reinterpret the Bible.
Jill,
not based
Jill,
on any new effort. Can I finish?
Look,
my
it's.
Can I finish?
Everyone would rather you didn't actually.
Don't ask me any more questions if I can't finish.
So I just want to explain something to you, just real briefly.
Myself, don't ask me.
Wow, out of control. Richard, please have your bit. Then, did I add P-Town before Marty? Sorry, P-Town. Right. Don't. Right. People need to chill out, take turns. Richard, finish your point then, Jeff.
Okay, it's not that we're trying to gang up on you and be cruel to you, which is probably pleasurable to you, but it's just that it was actually funny. That's why we all started laughing. I just wanted you to know that.
Everybody needs to unmute themselves.
Well, real quick, I would like to just, going back to something that Jill said, I just want to put the record straight. Jill mentioned that, I came back to Joe mentioning, homosexuals have like a 44-year lifespan, less than 50-year lifespan. He's referring to a very old science. It's a study from 1998. It looks it's a direct study of AIDS patients, right? So I just wanted to surprise, Jill's information isn't accurate. This is information that we actually don't really have yet. For one, AIDS medication has went a long way to lengthening life. For two, it's a
True
much different
data.
world. Civil rights are gay people are have a lot more civil rights than they did back in the 90s. People are a lot more gay people are out. This data right here, this old data doesn't reflect.
Lifespan is still 40. So the
No, it's
problem
not.
it
40
doesn't
years. You
reflect
think
that at
you
all.
think someone that's gay only lives 40
The-
years? Apparently,
the
you've never
problem-
been to a pride parade before.
The problem is that we don't want to look at the data when it goes against the narrative.
That's your problem.
No, apparently
You
you've
are
never met an
projecting.
older gay man before. Apparently you've never seen a pride parade or watched TV or seen older gay men.
Anecdotal evidence.
I'm sitting here
It's not
looking.
anecdotal evidence. Older gay men
We have the
exist,
studies.
Jill.
We
Just
I'm
because
sitting
you don't
here-
like it doesn't mean it's not true.
We said, you notice I said
I'm sitting here
optimal.
looking at the paper, and the paper is old, and everybody's saying
Sure.
this paper is
There's some
outdated.
people that
This
survive
information is
that
outdated.
lifestyle.
Is that
Yeah.
the one from Matt Slick? Not Matt
that's-
Slick wrote a quote paper about how
Yeah.
gay men die early at is that
Keyword,
from Matt Slick? Nakasuchi?
Oh no, it's
Must have been a Christian that said it.
Yeah,
Pete
because all those
Cameron.
studies are Christians. All those are Christian studies. Christian studies. in quotes.
No, this
the
is
Christian studies. Let me
Because-
check all
this,
the
because
answers.
scientific
I'm on
papers- scientific
PubMed.gov.
Also,
You don't like the
come
studies, so
out
let's find out if you went to
of
church last week.
think tank.
No, Matt Slick wrote a
Some
quote paper
of
about
which
Oh,
have
he went to church last year.
agendas
Oh, no. Can't count him.
and
Can't count
mission
that study.
statements.
Let's have one
specifically
person
telling
talking.
them.
at a
Shut up,
time.
liberal.
Maddie, you want the floor? Go ahead.
It's
I
just
w-
the
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that scientific papers come out of think tanks as well. The difference is they're not peer reviewed. So pointing to papers that show a result is not equivalent to pointing to a scientific paper. that has
CDC?
gone
How about the CDC?
through
Shut up,
the
Jill.
Scientific process.
CDC? Do you accept the CDC? That's why I asked the man if he accepted the CDC.
What's the date of that paper, Jill? Because whenever you're trying to cite papers and sources, you have to pick the most recent one, not from one like 30 odd years ago. So if there's if
wow.
yours one
Well,
from
first of
recently
all,
and you're not picking it, then
I never
you can just
mentioned any studies, so I don't know where Rage is getting his information from, but I never
You looked
mentioned
up the
any
date
studies.
So
or the
where
information
do
I
you
said
get that
the
the average gay
CDC.
man lifespan is 40? That
CDC.
gay men die at 40. Where did you get that from?
I'll get you the data.
All right, go for it. Hey, I'm a woman,
I
Jill.
said-
You're
I
talking
said
to
the
me. Did you know
CDC.
that?
I said CDC.
Okay, let's go to the CDC. Is there anything before? Is there anything after 1998
From the CDC, of course.
about gay men only living to 40?
Most new reported cases is where I
Okay,
cited
you
the
do
CDC.
you do know that there have been advances in science and
Oh,
medicine.
they've been
with HIV and
advances.
AIDS.
Good,
There's
excellent,
not a
good
death
job.
sentence
Keep
anymore. Now
advancing.
you can, and even if you did have HIV and
Keep
AIDS,
advancing. We're glad you're
Right.
advancing, but the fact of the matter is what the
No,
Bible
not-
prescribes is most
the
optimal.
Bible doesn't.
We don't
we
need
don't
to
subscribe to the
advance
Bible, so
because
yes, you
we're
do
optimal.
actually.
We're
No.
optimal. You're not.
You're not. If you
Off
think
on
if you
outlet.
think that
Get
only
over it.
that Jill, chill out for a minute. I know you're about talking to a woman. I know you don't like that, but relax. Just because not everybody has to subscribe to your Bible, okay? Your Bible works for you, and that's great. The Bible doesn't work for other people. Number one. Number two, there is such a thing as gay Christians. I play Dungeons and Dragons with a gay Christian. Well, she's more Catholic, but I play Dungeons and Dragons with someone who's a lesbian, and she is a believer, and she's a lesbian.
I feel like
Gay
kicking
men
you because you
don't-
play
don't
Dungeons
die
and
at-
Dragons.
What's that?
I said I just feel like kicking you because you play Dungeons and Dragons, but I said it quietly.
Don't hate. Don't hate. I'm a nerd,
Nerd.
Batman. Yes, I'm a big nerd.
See, this
don't
is
like
why I
gay
said it so
people.
quietly, not to ruin your trail of thought, which has already happened. Go, go, go.
You don't like gay men because gay men gross you out. That's what you should just say. Gay men are icky to me because I think men are icky, and I don't like gay men. That's what you should just say instead of using the Bible, because the Bible doesn't apply to everybody. The Bible applies to believers. Me, as a bisexual pagan, the Bible doesn't apply to me.
You're a
So
pagan?
when you guys are, yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I'm muting myself. I'm muting myself. I'm trying to make jokes.
So the Bible applies to you. So then if you don't like gay people, then don't marry a man. Stay in your marriage, stay in your lane, and let people do what they do, and stop spreading this false bullshit that gay men die at 40. Because if you think straight people can't get AIDS and HIV, you're fucking delusional.
All right, here's from the CDC. Here's a stat proving
That's where I was
that
going. Hang on.
The
Center for Disease Control and
new
Prevention.
most new cases
Or black
are
men?
homosexuals.
Black
So,
homosexuals?
let me
Black
read what the
homosexuals.
CDC says.
I know some of these
Alright.
stats. COVID,
Okay,
I don't care
a
about
September 2010 report of the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, declared, quote, gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men represent 2% of the population, yet are the population most severely affected by HIV and are the only risk group in which new HIV infections have been increasing steadily since the early 1990s. So what the Bible prescribes is optimal. That was my argument.
This is the stupidest shit I ever heard.
The sciences prove us correct.
No, you don't interpret.
Mowdy,
science
that's not
correctly.
fair. That is not fair. The show is not over.
Too bad. Don't like it? Create your own universe where how you want to have sex.
I have a
actually
better
corresponds
idea.
to
How about
reality.
if you just
It
bring
doesn't.
your standard of
It
understanding
doesn't, according
science up to the benchmark
science.
of us scientists?
Science of
Listen,
social
no,
statistics.
listen, he is fine.
We follow
He is fine.
those too.
First of all, I would love, to everybody, I want to quote Napoleon to everybody because I think it's fit. And Napoleon said, never interrupt your enemy when it's making a mistake. Think about that. Having said that, I totally agree with Jill. I'm fine with that. Italians live, on average, way more than Americans. And the majority of Italians are Catholics. Therefore, the right way to follow God and Christianity is Catholicism.
Not an olive oil based diet.
That is the statistical
That is
checkmate. Exactly.
Yes.
Like Jill, that's just a demonstration of how other people can misuse statistics to support their point.
To apply to anything.
CDC misused that statistic? Okay. All right.
You don't think he misused a statistic
you're-
to say that
are you Italian
Italians
Catholic now?
living longer than Americans, being mostly Roman Catholic, he's playing
Yeah,
the statistics.
Right.
So that means that Roman Catholics live longer than Americans.
Hold on. Very rare thing. Can everybody check out Fabio's ass? Very rare thing.
What he's saying is that even if your statistics were correct, it doesn't mean that, the Bible is true and all of this other stuff. It's like I was saying before. It's
Yeah, because it is
you don't
supernatural.
need. You can just appeal to the statistics themselves and know how to
And
behave
live a
in
healthy
that.
lifestyle. Yes, that's the point I'm making. Yeah, even
But-
if you don't believe in God. Right.
You got to be a Catholic to do that.
Healthy lifestyle. Yes.
Well, I mean, if you want to live a healthier lifestyle than most Americans, you should be Roman Catholic.
Right.
According to
right.
the interpretation of
For that
statistics
logic,
that you're
right?
using.
That very right. Exactly.
See, the
Only
difference here
studies
is
deal with actual behaviors, not just a choice to be a religious person or not.
Which
Actual
behaviors?
And the
So wait a second.
behaviors-
So to be
and
clear,
and there could be a correlation between the behaviors of the Catholic men, where they don't engage in certain activities, risky activities. That could be also correlated to their longer life.
Oh, listen, man. Fuck they
It's not a lifestyle.
Believe me.
Not
Fuck they
a
do.
lifestyle.
There you go. Thank
It's
you
not
for
a
proving my
lifestyle.
point. Thank you for proving my point. Appreciate it.
What being
Now, had you said atheists were living longer, then I might have scratched my head.
being LGBT is not a lifestyle, Jill. I'm just throwing
Sure
that out.
is, sure
It's
is.
really
I know
not.
being atheists are living happiest. At least the countries with the highest atheist populations are also the countries that are happy.
Yeah, but religion, Christianity isn't about being happy, man.
No.
I'm
Well,
about being
suffering.
happy though, and trying to make other people
Death
happy
cult.
too.
Yeah,
accepting
it's
truth
not a
is
lifestyle.
about being happy.
Exactly. So listen to everything that you say about gay men and how gay men are labeled as pedophiles just by default, and how gay men have it harder. They can get fired from their jobs. They're looked down upon like the scum of the earth. Tell me what person on their right mind would choose that? Who wakes up one day and says, you know what? I have a wife and a family and a good job and everybody loves me and respects me. I think I'm going to be gay and risk losing all of this that I have.
I'm still waiting to hear the statistic about the 40.
Yeah, gay men die at 40, Jill. Where'd you get that from? Because apparently you've never watched
we're
TV.
entertaining a distraction that he created.
Right.
Let's get back on track.
So you
Well,
guys
it
agree
pisses
with
me
the
off like
first
crazy when people say that it's a choice, and I'm bisexual. I was born bisexual.
Yeah, but
I
it's a
didn't
red
choose
herring
that.
now, Marty. He's got you all off track. Get
Say
back-
what?
He's got you off track. You need to get back on track.
Oh
So
yeah,
you-
where's that stat that said gay men
So
die at
you
40?
agree? So you agree with the stat from the CDC? You could see that I was right about that. I was
No, I'm asking you where the stat is that
you
said
can
gay men
see-
die at 40.
Right. What about the idea that gay men have a new or higher cases?
She's asking, where do you get that stat
Where did
from?
you get the stat that gay men die at 40?
Do you accept that fact?
She
Before
doesn't
we
know
go to the
until you
next-
tell her the source.
I'm not. Yeah, you tell me
I
where
gave
you
you the
find
source,
that.
the
See,
CDC.
there's nothing in here that says gay
Let me
men die
read
at
it again.
40.
Okay, the
Let me read it
CDC.
again. Gay, bisexual, and other
What year?
men will have
What
sex
years?
with men. This is
Even
a
is-
report from 2010.
Okay,
by
we have
the
anything
CDC.
closer?
Right, everybody's talking over each other. Everybody's talking. Hold on. Don't make me mute everybody. Don't make me mute everybody. There's an awful lot of audio going on. I'm asking everyone to just breathe. Okay.
Yeah.
Jill is trying
Jill,
to answer
Jill
the
is
question.
reiterating
People
a
are-
point, a legitimate point. Jill is reiterating a legitimate point. He brought up a 2010 study. Jill, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm actually supporting you, and I'm not
Yes,
being
please,
facetious
Chris.
right
Steel
now.
man, the man, please.
Well, I mean, your point right now is you just want acknowledgement that the 2010 study from the CDC that acknowledged that bisexual, homosexual men having sex with other men, that behavior put them more at risk, put them in a category of a population that's increasing in HIV infections more than other populations, right?
Increasing.
Okay, so
despite
that's the point that you were making. Because everybody
technology.
was like jumping all over it in a way that didn't deserve
Right.
it.
You don't want to acknowledge that. You want to jump to another claim, but no one else in here had to back up anything with actual.
I thought I was
that
just thought they were
everybody-
asking for.
I think I
You
speak
guys
for
get to
everybody.
speak
I speak for
freely
everybody
without
in saying
citation.
that.
So no more citations.
No, we agreed. So I think I speak for everybody when we say that that 2010 citation that you
Was
quoted,
compelling.
We accept. So using that, considering that our question was, what is your data for the 40-year-old number that you come to? We're willing to accept that as step one, hopefully, in a multi-step
Yeah, I'll get you the
process
data
that is
for the
going to get
40.
there.
I'll get you the data for the 40-year-old or the 40-year lifespan. Some are
Estimate.
44. Yeah, some have
Mhm.
44, some have 42, depending on the study. If I'll get
Well,
that.
And I think the reason why you're getting pushback on that 2010 study is demonstrating that a certain population, which already is in the 2% of the existing population, is increasing or decreasing in a certain statistic, doesn't demonstrate that a majority of people in that population are engaging in that behavior. And it kind of sounded like you were engaged in that fallacy. Like, hey, here's this population that fits this demographic, therefore people who fit that demographic are all guilty of it.
No, I didn't say all.
That's
No, it's not all.
I understand. Oh, no, I was exaggerating. I was purposely exaggerating to
Well,
make
the African American statistic, for example, is one that often gets confused in that same way. But it's still saying if there's a problem, if you're saying that 15% of the population is committing 50% of the crime, that's not saying that 15% of that 15%, 100 or 90% of them are committing crimes. It's really only a small percentage of those 15% that are
or
committing.
that they are representative of that population.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's the real.
For sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So we agree on that.
Yeah, of course.
Like that's in the same way
I'm
that
sure-
we agree
I'm-
on the 2010 data that you gave.
It's the same 2 to 3%.
We have a
right,
siren going in the
who are getting, let out of jail free cards, handed to them by the DA, the woke DAs in a lot of these cities, and it's the same people committing the same crime. So the 15% committing 50% of the crime is a bit misleading. I agree, but I don't think that's
when you start throwing woke leaders into your explanation. All of a sudden there are hairs to split. Like you're injecting subjective perception into what you want to be as objective data.
Well, these are due to health risks associated with AIDS and hepatitis, and other STDs. Also, homosexuals are more likely to be smokers, which makes the taste of life lower.
A majority of domestic terrorism in the United States was done by Muslims for a certain period of time. But that in no way, shape, or form means that most Muslims are engaging in terrorism. It sounds like you're engaging in that kind of fallacy in the way that you're presenting data.
And that's what that was what my issue was.
No, I would.
I saw that, but I saw it getting way out of hand.
Yeah.
What we would
My
suggest,
meds wore off.
and what profilers would suggest, and this is not racist, but what a profiler would suggest is that, and I won't use the brown people, because that'll get your channel shut down. So I'll use white people, because you
I'm
can say
Italian.
things about
I'm right
white
here.
people.
Why would you say that
Right,
about
you
me?
can say things about white people and get away with it. So
What the hell?
You got to be very careful when he says this is not racist. It is.
But wait, guys, wait. You all witnessed the historical moment. Jill talked to me.
I've been fucking muted. Okay, sorry. Just to be clear, I don't give a
you're my
shit
hero.
about the monetization, the money, and all the rest of it. It's out of respect and things that you just. It's fucking in the rules. You don't say shit. You know what it is.
And Chris, I've heard of you before, and I've actually followed you for a minute. I really kind of, I've heard of you before, so it's really cool to sit and talk to you. Yeah.
Can I respond to what was just said?
Real quick, I just want to inform Marty. Jill did start talking to women about a year and a half ago.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
we were talking about this earlier. We give him a fucking bone, and we told him, "Here's a
It had
good thing
nothing
you
to
did."
do
and
with
he followed.
talking, but debating. So that's a big.
No, because I would come in and I'd say hi, Jill, and you would leave.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I swear to God, Chris, you would leave.
And I still might.
I don't care.
So.
Oh no, I do. I'd prefer if you stayed. I think that you have contributions to make. I am curious to hear you.
People who think it's okay to kill black people, I don't really.
Oh, seriously, I just fixed the script. Don't make me fucking kick you again.
What the fuck are you talking about?
In response to what I don't know who was speaking, Christopher or whoever was speaking, it wouldn't be wrong for you to say that if a serial killer were going around killing people and we didn't know who he was, it would not be racist for you to say or profile and say that it's most likely a white person, white male in his 30s or 40s. Okay, so that's all we're saying here. We're not saying
but it wouldn't be accurate.
Homosexual. We're not saying
those
every
psychological,
homosexual
but it wouldn't be accurate.
Pedophile. But if there is a pedophile, he's most likely a homosexual.
No,
Oh,
what?
no, that's not true.
Get the fuck
Holy
out of here! Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit! I knew. See, that's where he was
Holy
going. That's why I was getting so pissed off because that's what he does. If someone's a
Well,
pedophile,
we've
they're
already
automatically gay.
We've
Yeah,
exposed
so-
the flaws in his logic. It's unfortunate that he went there anyway.
I have a friend who's being accused, and I don't know that he's guilty, and I don't know that he's
Don't make
innocent.
me kick you, Richard. Not even gonna get into that conversation because you know I'll fucking fight you. Don't even get down.
Well, thanks for
I just
guessing.
kicked the
Thanks for
motherfucker.
guessing what I was going to say. I appreciate it. Have a nice day.
Look, P-Town's now here. I swapped one crazy for P-Town.
So I've been studying. What I was going to say is I've been studying statistical data, and it seems that it's pretty conclusive. I think that less than 0.01% of adults who engage in sexual behaviors with other adults also simultaneously engage otherwise with non-adults. So it's statistically almost impossible. So what I'm saying is a homosexual male engaging in sex with another homosexual male who's of adult.
And Richard, out of principle, I specifically asked you not to go down that route, and I don't care what you have to say. I'm sure it's lovely and all the rest of it and everything that's respectful. I'm not going down it.
Let me change a little bit. There is a thing that is said, I think, an hour ago, which stuck in my mind because it was ridiculous about the Virgin marrying, and the STDs. I'm not a doctor.
Richard
I'm
left.
not even close. Yeah, I'm not even close to being a doctor. On top of my mind, I can think of about 3 scenarios where a virgin has got STD. On top of my mind, like blood transfusion, IV, or even childbirth. You know, a baby, a newborn baby, can have STD. You know, because it's passed. It might be passed, you know, by the mother during childbirth. So it's another load of bullshit. That's it.
Right, Fabio, you've got your bit. I swear to fuck, if people don't move the fuck on from this, I'm gonna get pissed off and just end the fun. I've specifically kicked a person I consider my brother for doing the same thing I asked a person, my first troll. All right, I don't want them to agree. I don't like being in that position. I don't like having to do that. So I'm asking people to just move the fuck on from that whole. Look, here's P-Town.
Hi, P-Town.
Hey everybody,
What's going on?
just living the dream.
Are
Hey,
you?
MathPig, you got me mixed up with Ultimated Judeo-Christian earlier.
Judo.
Just for the record.
No. I feel like his new nickname is Judo. Specifically because he
Okay.
asked me 3 times not to call him Judo
Oh.
because it's a martial arts style and not Judo Christian. And I was like, yeah, don't care. Fuck you.
As long as it's not mixed up with P-Town, I'm okay.
No. I took Judo off you and Rage's hands last night so you could have an actual conversation. I felt like
Oh, yeah.
winding. Yeah. I give you
Yeah.
more
Feels so
respect
bad.
than I will biblically. He tried to argue with me the fact that we can't prove proto-stars existed, we can't prove gravity, and then we can't prove God, then because no gravity, God exists. Look it up on my channel, Philip something Cornelius or whatever is the name of the stream. Yeah, that's biblically fighting that we can't prove gravity, therefore God.
P-Town, you drinking?
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Carol
I
the
think
Atheist was wondering in the side chat. So I just
yeah,
thought I'd ask.
you guys don't need your earmuffs this time. No, yeah, I went on a couple bingers this week. Usually, like, you know, I'm human. I ain't perfect.
We're all human, man. There's a guy at work who's the very, very best at what he does, and only he can do what he does in a factory that's a production line. And at least once a year, he'll go on a 2-week bender. And it's like, oh, fuck. And they have to panic and do shit. And then he comes back, and he still gets paid more than everyone else. Because they know he's a recovering alcoholic. And every now and again, motherfucker goes to
Off the
bender.
wagon.
He specifically
Yeah.
didn't go to the Christmas do because he was like, if I go to the Christmas do and we get 2 weeks off straight after the Christmas do, I ain't coming back to February. So I'm not going to the
Yeah.
Christmas do.
That sounds pretty dope there, MathPig. You might want to go.
Yeah. In all honesty, he used to spend all his money on fucking alcohol and shit like that. He now puts it into his car and he drives a bright orange 2000 and I think it's 20 Ford Focus RS full-blown petrol 3-liter. And for us over here, you know, a 3-liter full petrol it's a decent it's a nice car. I like Fords. It's bright orange as well. It's really orange. But yeah. P-Town, did you have fun
Yeah.
talking to Rage last night? Did you get anything sorted?
Oh, Rage don't listen. No.
Well, would you
no,
give
it
me
was
right?
fine.
Rage doesn't listen. I'm gonna be very.
What I think we came to an agreement at the end, and what I was trying to mention was I was trying to mention when I see atheists bickering about whether or not Jesus existed or if he existed but none of it was true. When atheists are arguing back and forth about those two, when both of those premises are wrong, I guess I shouldn't have even been a part of the conversation, because it's just like, I tried to use the analogy. It's like Fox News they'll have their experts consult with each other about, did this person do it this bad, or like it's not about whether or not someone's guilty. It's about whether or not they deserve the death penalty or life in prison when they're not even proven to be a valid suspect yet.
He made me choke there. He said Fox News and experts.
Right.
Oxymoron.
Try to use an analogy you guys might.
The analogy still doesn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work last night. It doesn't work tonight. So
Yeah, it's
I
like
find-
saying Fox News checks sources again.
I find a new analogy. That's what I'm saying.
I need to get a list of good
Oh,
analogies.
For like the last 3 hours, because I go to bed early now. So for like last 3 hours, it was you and Mark Reed arguing. I was quiet.
If you say
Yeah,
you're
Mark-
old, knock, I'm gonna punch you in the face.
I feel for like Jill. I was hoping he'd be here. It's nice sometimes having a partner because when you're talking to people and you're outnumbered and you're on an atheist channel where you're really not going to have an impact on people anyway, you get cut off all the time.
It doesn't matter if
Hold
your partner's...
on. I would like to make a point of just personally on this particular channel, P-Town. I know this is your maybe third time here, but I do try to make a point. No, you will be shut down if you're fucking ignorant, and I will shut down people if they're ignorant to you. I try to be fair, and even earlier I stuck up for 7 day a week guy. I stuck up for Jill at a point. It goes against my freaking. No, I try to be an asshole to everybody.
The media would cut off like you guys when he said he's cut me off all the time, and both of you cut him off to say you don't cut him off.
I cut you off more than most people because you love to talk more than me, Brie, and that's hard to find.
He hates everybody equally. MathPig is an
equal opportunity insulter.
I don't know. I mean, having a partner is nice and all, but when that partner goes to a clan meeting every week, I don't know. I'd say I probably don't want the clan member as my partner. I'm
sure
saying.
you could find a better Christian to team up with P-Town rather than Jill.
Well, I don't know Jill.
I'm just saying.
I barely know Jill, but I mean,
well,
no one's perfect so far. I like the guy a lot.
Yeah, well.
Jill just needs a hug. Swear to God, last 6 months I've just swapped from. He's gonna get attention regardless. He's gonna fight you, and every time he tries to say, like. Marty, he wanted you to get wound up. He really did.
I know, and I keep I don't talk. I know how Jill works with people, but I've never talked. That's the most I've spoken to Jill ever.
Yeah, well, this is
so,
the thing.
like,
Yeah, we did point this out earlier that we threw him a bone. We were like, "Have you ever changed your mind on anything?" No, my book says this, that, and the other. And I asked Knock about speaking to women. We literally gave him a bone, told him he was a good person for making this point, and he fought it. And then talk to you. It's like...
Yeah, Marty was actually one of them. Yeah. He wouldn't talk to Marty. There were several.
Well, he did once in Richard's room. He responded to me because I think I put something in the side chat, and then he responded to me either in the side chat or during the conversation with Richard. And I was away for a minute. I had some mental health issues going on, so I haven't been around for a minute. So I didn't know he changed his stance on talking to women. So between him and his hatred of gay people and me being a woman, I'm like, I have to get in here right now.
Well, technically, according to Jill, he hasn't changed his stance. He always said he would never debate a woman. He never said he wouldn't talk to a woman, even though
back then his excuse was he only talks to his wife.
Yeah, it was like he wouldn't even acknowledge women at all.
If I can, I don't think it was he would only talk to his wife. He would not be in a room with another woman and have a deep and meaningful conversation on these topics,
like some Mike Pence
because
bullshit.
These conversations are saved for his partner. I don't think it was just as blunt as I can't be a room with a woman. It was specifically I can't have these topics or discussions on these topics.
What topic was it?
Like religion and politics. These are anything that makes his fucking brain go blah.
Anything important.
Yeah, very important.
As the point he made out, when it doesn't go against his book, it's like, a woman suggested to me that I should buy Personal instead of Dad's. So he listens to her and buys Personal.
I mean, it was literally a thing. So I would have these rooms, and back it was Google Meet. So it was similar to now. You could have like up to 10 people, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And we would have these rooms, and he would come in, and there'd be 3 or 4 women in the room.
Somebody's food ready.
He would only conversate with the men. If a woman addressed him, he would ignore them, or he would have them on block or something where he couldn't even fucking hear him.
Yeah. Cryptomeria, I'm fine. I'm not upset. I know Jill's an asshole, but I'm not upset about it. I just had to get in because he was in here and he was hating on LGBT.
Oh, we'll never let him go for that shit. Like, he will hear about it until we're all dead and not doing the internet anymore.
He would insult people. He would insult somebody and then apologize, like with this
And
real
then
insincere
laugh.
apology.
And then
You know?
laugh.
Yeah, don't.
Oh.
He's just so insincere. It's insane.
Tonight was mild, Jill. He was really mild tonight.
I've seen Jill on full blast.
I have good luck talking to Jill. I mean, even though we have had it and we disagree, and I say what I say and he says what he says. They're semi-productive. He actually sent me that fucking article that we were asking about.
I see. He put some stuff in the side chat. I mean,
I feel that Jill is disallowed to be a dick here as best as I can. I give him his freedom and all the rest of it, and I try to build bridges with humor and love. But Christopher, you do help an awful lot because you're a cam. You don't react to it. I force him to not react, and then you engage it on that. You don't let him trigger you. So it's a definite help.
Is he thinking for himself? I wonder.
No,
Well, I mean,
no, he's not.
When you're a Christian man, and you're talking to a bunch of people like this, there's times when you're gonna sound offensive. You can't. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
So far,
That makes sense,
I
but I
like
mean-
Jill. There's only a
The
few
problem is
times.
that
I want to kick P-Town now. Can I
he
kick
doesn't. He
P-Town?
doesn't listen. That's the main issue. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Listen.
Right.
You can feel when he's having a conversation that everything he listens to are the points that he needs to steer the conversation towards what he wants.
Right.
And
So it's
I
not
insincere.
Sitting
It's
back,
insincere.
I would.
Yeah.
Sitting back, I could see it, how that would look that way from your perspective, and then I could also see how it was the same way from his perspective. So I can't really fully affirm to
I
what
have
you're
something to
saying.
say about that. Like, even when I've been in rooms with other Christians, there are times, as an atheist, there are times where their approach made the difference between me feeling comfortable and me feeling not comfortable, right?
Yep.
And admittedly, we were pushing back on the things that he was saying, but there were so many opportunities provided for him to just be like, let's take a step back. My main point is this. I was trying to use these examples. That's not working. Let's change. Let's have a change of plans. Or I accept that, studies from 13 years ago aren't as good as more recent studies. Or he could have still maintained his main point and let his ego get bruised a touch.
Yeah.
Right.
And it would have made all the difference. I guess that's my point.
And I agree with you, Christopher.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. What I said before. I mean.
I'm just reiterating what you said.
No. Yeah. I mean, there is nothing wrong in I would say not even accepting the point, but just saying, okay, listen, man, and as you said before, P-Town, when you said, I understand from his point of view, understand from your point of view. I mean, regardless if it's true or not, I'm not disputing that. But again, this is a way to figure out the conversation, the way it went, according to your perception. My perception might be different, and we'll go to bed anyway. There is no harm done, right? But with him, it's all a hill to die on.
Yes.
Every point.
Yes. And
yes,
you're absolutely right with it. That's exactly how he is.
Right.
And it's bonkers, because
Yes.
if you approach the conversation with that attitude, there can't be a bloody conversation. Because I will not listen to you, you're not listening to me. So what is the point?
I think I agree with you. I saw a little bit of that tonight with him, and I'm going to defend him though in a small way here by saying I do the same thing he does, not wanting to when you're engaging multiple people, because everyone has a different perspective of where you should be going, and you're trying to satisfy or address everyone.
Well, that's the thing.
And you're not gonna make a perfect decision, but I definitely see how he does die on the hill sometimes instead of taking a step back.
I feel that when you question Jill, he takes everything as accusatory. Like if I said to Scott, are you wearing red and black because you think I'm a bull and want to start a fight? That's me asking a question, but they could then take it accusatory and start on me and this, that, and the other. And Jill takes everything as an accusatory thing. everything is on the defensive. He feels bad
Well,
all the time.
It's ego bruise. He's walking ego bruise.
Yep.
And P-Town, you don't have to really explain to us, how it feels when you're alone in a room. Like most of us have been in rooms by ourselves against the other side. Like, like this is. I don't think everybody in this room has, but I think we all get the concept. Like if you're in a room, and you're all by yourself, you're gonna get on the defensive, and you're gonna probably behave in a different way than not. Like you got to. You did that all night last night, and you're doing it again tonight. Like you don't have to keep explaining that. Like, especially me. Like I get it. I go into rooms all the time, and I poke the bear all the time. So I get it.
I'm usually the only pagan in a room.
I think the only other
feel
person here that has access or knows of the channel that I'm going to talk about would maybe possibly be Bree. But the last time I entered a room with about 6 or 7 other Christians, and some of them fundamentalists, some of them quite old and have been raised in, an older generation of just Christianity, we ended up talking about going on holiday. And for 40 minutes, maybe an hour, I shared pictures of my holiday, and we didn't talk religion at all. They come in, or I come in, we started bantering, they asked me what was on my mind, and we just talked. And it was a point of getting to know the person and sharing that, I feel closer
It's a
to...
different ball of wax.
Pardon?
You're coming to it's a different ball of wax. You're coming to the table with different goals than a lot of...
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's about your approach.
There we go. Okay.
And on that, I'll shut up and mute.
Yeah, P-Town, I'm usually the only pagan in the room, so I feel you.
Yeah, well, I run into a dilemma sometimes because what'll happen is everyone wants to have a chance to talk, so it'll go this round robin thing of attack P-Town with a few statements and then ask a question, and then the next person will attack P-Town, ask another question, and by the time it gets to you, if you don't address someone's question, it's like you look bad, but you're it makes you want to go on the attack.
No,
and then I know that as a Christian, you're not supposed to do that.
P-Town, can I please tell you, just as a human to another human, it doesn't make you look bad when you can't answer loaded, badly worded questions, right? So, and the only reason why I say that is I recognize the situation that you're describing from my perspective, being in a room of other, people who disagree with me. And it's just a matter of self-respect and being like, I don't accept your framing. That phrase does a shit ton of work, because once you admit, like, I don't accept that framing, then the choice becomes whether you can defend it, justify it or not. But that's a separate conversation. So I agree with you that it's challenging, to the same point that Raging was pointing out. It's challenging every time we do this thing. But there are ways of addressing the things that you're talking about that literally change the landscape of the conversation. When I'm in a room with Christians and I admit I'm happy to be wrong, as soon as I say that, everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And admittedly, I'm not happy to be wrong, but I'm happy to be engaged in a process where, should new evidence come to light, I can take it on board. That's essentially what I'm saying. But few people say that in a room with people they disagree with, and I think that those little moments like that are the game-changing moments.
I think you made a really good point earlier. Yeah,
I want to encourage you to keep going into those rooms, I guess, is my main point. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And no, I completely agree with you. In fact, I was just reading about it today in one of my books, and I basically, this is me actually telling you guys I am sorry for my behavior last night and how it is sometimes in other streams, and I'm admitting that I don't conduct myself properly sometimes, and it's wrong. I mean, ultimately, as a Christian, us trying to portray how smart we are, how much we know if we know our scriptures, that's isn't gonna be what's gonna ultimately win people over. It's very important, but by and large, people start coming to church or consider the Christian faith because of who Christians are and how they treat people. From my experience, so I fail, and I apologize.
I don't think you're that bad. Like I've dealt with far worse than you, man. I think you're a bit hard on yourself there. Like I mean, people in the midst of conversation, serious conversation, there's going to be disagreement and agreement. So I mean, I don't think you get that bad.
You know, and sometimes too, Rage, I know that it's kind of fun when I do get a little bit heated and push back. So I'm always trying to, you know, keep it entertaining too. But
Everyone loves a dumpster fire.
yeah, so
just go
it's,
find one of the
there's
reels
also
of
the
me,
component.
man. If I put a fifth of liquor in me, I'm a wild man on stream. I'm a madman, you know. So
I remember those days, Knock.
There's plenty of reels out there, right? Like,
I remember those days, early days of Knock, man. I remember that.
Within this
getting
last
better,
6
but-
months, there's streams of Knock just going, MathPig's a fucking asshole. You're all fucking dicks. Swear to God, I've only fallen out with this cunt once in my life, and I'm falling out with him again. He's a wanker. You know, that's within this last 6 months.
Yeah, but a point that I want to drive home for P-Town is the idea that while you might be coming into these arguments or coming into these discussions with the idea of persuasion, a lot more people are coming in to sharpen their skills about the things they already believe. So it's less about persuasion, it's a little bit about understanding, and it's also about honing this craft that is, like, I'm invested in this thing, and I want to be able to talk to people about it such that if I'm challenged, I can defend my beliefs. And that works, and whether you realize it or not, atheists feel the same way. And if you don't relate to what I'm talking about, like, I do think that a certain part of apologetics is cognitive therapy for people who are Christian. Like, I believe this thing and it makes sense. Argue with me about it and I'll show you how it makes sense. That is a satisfying thing. That's the same reason why I think atheists get into these discussions, but it's different because we're not charged to proselytize.
Right. I think in today I was reading something and the guy broke it down to, he grouped them together, but you have skeptics and then you have seekers. And what I've been trying to do the last 3 months, 2 months or whatever, is I would really like to run into the seekers. And then it gets a whole lot of the skeptics that have an agenda mixed in with it. It gets challenging.
For me and everyone who's listening, just explain the difference between the two.
He didn't in this book that someone just bought me. He didn't define the difference. He grouped them in together. So he just said skeptics and seekers. He didn't have to define it, but from my experience, what I would say is different is the biggest hindrance to knowledge or learning something is the assumption that what we know is already the truth. So I guess I would say maybe in this, he made these definitions up, but a skeptic might be one that has an agenda and already thinks that they know the truth, or already thinks that the other person is wrong and a bigot. You know, I think in this dichotomous definition, I wouldn't define a skeptic as that, but whereas a seeker is going to want to ask questions, want to have a discussion, work it out, right?
A seeker's goal is the journey.
Is to learn, right?
Yeah. Seeking. Okay.
I wanted to grant a thing to P-Town, and the thing I want to grant you is that I understand that these kind of conversations are basically asymmetric, right? So meaning that if you come into this conversation as a Christian or somebody which believes in a God, there is a lot which hinges on that conversation. It's a critique to something that you deeply believe, for reasons I'm not getting even into there, but you are defending. Sorry, I'm saying you as a general example. Don't bear with me. You are defending what I would call an ideology, for lack of a better term, in the most positive way possible, right? While I would call the opponent side, the other side, nothing really hinges on that. They're just, they're either trying to find a breach in your ideology, or they're trying to defend a position, which at the end of the day, they can always say, I don't know. And I understand, believe me, I do understand that it seems to be, and this is where I also think it's asymmetric, because for somebody which believes in that kind of ideology, of a superior being, and all that thing, hearing I don't know seems like a cop-out, while for me it isn't, and vice versa. So I understand that sometimes can be frustrating, and I totally get that the conversation is, I grant you that the conversation is asymmetric. What I think we have to understand is that, there is a common thing which leads, everybody in rooms like that is the thing that we like to discuss, right? And once we understand that sometimes we just discuss for the sake of discussion and there is no personal attack. I mean, I've had conversation with Christopher and MathPig where we screamed into our faces until we were blue. Believe me, we did, right? And we still get back to it.
Fabio is an asshole, bigger than I'm an asshole.
Yeah, I'm a fucking asshole.
Fabio is. We had a joke that Fabio was a Sith Lord, and I actually was trying to be a Sith Lord for a while. Like, Fabio is what I want to be.
But I value these people, even if sometimes they're wrong. I don't care. It's a discussion. So this is where I said, that, and I understand it's more difficult for somebody than the other. You got to tone it down a little bit, and all that ego stuff, that Christopher was talking about. It's really a big red flag in this discussion. It's something that you cannot overcome. You cannot have an honest conversation anymore.
If you don't see through that lens, if you didn't see it through that lens, if you do moving forward, it'll help. Like, ego bruise never looks good. Being able to sit there with people who can fucking raise their middle finger in pantomime is a true sign of love.
The fact that Fabio is on this panel, right? If I can just say, the fact that he's here right now. Earlier, look through in the transcript. Go back a fucking hour. Go back an hour and a half or whatever the fuck it was. We've less people now watching than we did at the point. But the whole idea of having Terry on for that point, Fabio and me disagreed with that. I do this not for the subs, not for the subscriptions, not for any of that. I enjoy the conversations, and sometimes you need to bring in the fucking idiots that have madness to say to get the attention of people who have no interest in an actual conversation, but who will stay if the conversation goes that way. You have to sometimes dirty your toes, put your feet in the sewer instead of the sea. And the fact that Fabio was here, he came, he watched it, he was like, you've got a fucking guy on saying 7 days a week proves God.
Oh God.
I appreciate it. Gone. Comes back later, good conversation, joints. So we do fall out, we do have disagreements, we don't agree on absolutely everything. I think my approach is different than Fabio's. But
yeah, I joined the first time, and then I told you it was a totally waste of my time.
Exactly.
And I would never speak with that guy
That's
anymore.
literally what he said. No. What he said was, I will not give him another second of my
But
time.
he's funny to listen to, Fabio. Huh? He's funny.
Well,
it's a good laugh.
Probably the first time and a half, but then it's a broken record.
Pretty much.
It's a headache for me. I get a headache when he talks.
Marty, if you like it, more power to you.
He's good background noise. It's good to kind of like.
I don't know.
I love when he goes on Knox channel because I'll just sit there and I'll just like zone out and I'll get some crafting done. He's like it's like white noise listening to him talk.
I fucking fell asleep watching. I fell asleep watching.
My opinion on that guy is that it's a waste of time to listen.
Oh yeah, he's batshit crazy.
And if I were a Christian,
I wouldn't associate with him.
I would be royally pissed by that guy.
Oh yeah.
Scripturally
He doesn't make
speaking.
Christians look good.
I mean,
Because,
I think he's got Breaking Bad
sorry,
going
sorry,
on.
Just think about it, okay?
Oh, yeah.
We've had Terry, right? And then after a while, we got P-Town. And P-Town, I've never met the guy, but seems to be
P-Town's a
super
good dude,
reasonable.
for the
He
most
seems
part.
to be I don't know the guy. It seems to be a super reasonable guy, right? And he comes after Terry. just think about it for a second from his point of view.
Fabio, what the fuck has took you so long to clutch onto this? It's you set the
It's
bar
like going
super
from-
low, and then even fucking Jill was better than Terry. All right?
It's like going from a cold shower to a
Listen,
nice
no,
warm
no,
hot tub.
No, listen,
It's
I'm not talking about Jill out of respect of P-Town because of what he said before. So I'm only citing Terry. I don't want to stir any pot or whatever. So I'm just taking that example.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel for the guy, and yeah, that is it.
No, I appreciate your honesty out of anything. You know, me and Fabio have never had a falling out or anything like that because Fabio has always went, you were a dick. This is the truth. And I'm like, you're probably right. I was a bit of a dick, you know? And then Fabio is a bit of a dick. And I'm like, you're a bit of a dick. And he was like, yeah, I was supposed to be a dick. That's what I was aiming for. And we've an understanding. And it's an honesty that I appreciate.
Right?
Oh my God. So Chris, Fabio, and MathPig, 2 guineas and MathPig in the same room talking to Terry. I wish I would have seen that.
No, well, believe me. I mean, I was there, and I wish I wasn't there. So.
Here, the entire time Terry was here, I think, who was it that, Dargendorf. I think Dargendorf's probably went to sleep because he's in Germany, which is where you should be, Fabio. But Dargendorf suggested to me earlier putting fucking biblically and I think Richard together. But when Terry turned up, all I wanted was biblically to turn up so I could put biblically against Terry and then mute everybody else.
Oh man, I would have loved to see that.
I think
I would have loved to have seen that, MathPig.
I think Terry's like a headache to listen to, and he's got like really bad arguments. But I don't think I think Jill is way worse than Terry. I think when it comes to conversation, like my only problems with Terry is like he's too excited. Like he needs to package that energy up and just sell that blue meth to the masses.
As I said, he has an organ down here that just makes amphetamines.
Jill's like a fucking neo-Nazi, man. Like he literally has admitted it.
He has admitted.
I mean, Terry's not that, right?
Can I ask a question? Hold on, I don't mean to be rude or anything. I don't mean to be rude or anything, but at the end of the day, this is my fucking channel. Dr. Tapioca Weasel looks like somebody just died. Are you okay up there in the corner, man? You look very sad.
I'm doing fine. I'm sorry.
Sad face. You did have sad face going on.
You had super sad face.
I didn't mean to. I think maybe it was I was just small because I haven't zoomed in on my camera. But no, I just I've had a great day. It's been a good day.
Good. We'll be rounding up very soon. So I do want to go around the room and get everyone's opinions on things, that and the other, and do a wee bit of a show. And seeing as you've just joined Tapioca Weasel, please let everyone know who you are and what you've got going, and then we'll work our way around the room.
I'm Tapioca Weasel. I show up on some of these streams. I don't have any content on my own channel.
Not yet.
But
I keep pushing it. You will soon.
Yeah, I have been doing streams with Maya on Sunday evenings. So
the timing suits.
Maybe check those out.
Yeah. Maya's good. Headless Chicken, what have you got going?
Are you sure you want me to say something?
If you ask me about my prolapse anus one more time.
No, I'm not going to ask. Okay, I promise you, I will not ask you about your prolapse anus.
I swear to God, right? But other than that, what have you got? No, nothing.
No, I'll save it.
Okay,
I'm not
Marty.
going to mention your prolapse anus, okay?
You leave it out of it. All right, Marty, what have you got going?
I have an Etsy store, and I'm actually thinking about starting that channel. Remember, Knock, that Nerd Wars channel I was gonna do with the Nerd Debate channel?
Yeah,
Remember
me and Skylar Fiction still need to debate the better captain, Picard or
Cisco.
Kirk.
Clearly Cisco.
I'm actually that's something I wanted to talk to MathPig about. So I might hit you up in Discord, MathPig.
So really,
because,
you're arguing over
Yeah,
who's
that's
in
the biggest
second and
news that
third
Marty's
place?
had in her life in this last 6 months.
No,
She
my
became
po-
friends with me in Discord.
everybody says Cisco, but my position is Kirk is
I
the
never
best
said
and always will
Cisco.
be.
No.
I like Cisco.
No, but I mean
'cause I like
everybody,
technology.
everybody. says
Everybody's
Cisco.
getting fucking kicked from this stream for not agreeing with Cisco. Moving on, Marty, what have you
I
got?
like it, but that's it. I haven't started it yet, but I'm gonna message you because I might need some help on some technical stuff, and of course I have to have you on to debate somebody. So
Cool.
but
Next
that's it.
next to my list is James. James, what have you got?
Well, hey there, guys. So I've got my Flea Beard channel.
Damn, your
and
voice
usually
is
I-
nearly as good as Seth Rogen. You should do audiobooks, man. You'd make money there. Like.
Yeah, I appreciate that, MathPig. So I'm usually over at, sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm at Pocket Locker, Jay's channel, unless he gets really angry about something, and then I usually bow back out because I just can't vibe with that kind of anger sometimes.
Yeah, we all
I
love
like it.
people. We all love people who steal other people's content. But go on. Another thing. Moving on.
Yeah, I hear you. And a lot of times I'm over at MythVision moderating, and very, very big fan of Derek over at MythVision.
I would really love to have a chat, just with Derek. You know, over the whole thing about everything and all, and his progression from, you know, where he was to where he is now. I'd really love a chat with Derek James if you could. Just tell him that. You know, see if he
Yeah, I
wants
can.
to, and would be open.
I'm
to
sure
it.
he will. I'll let him know. I'm sure he
Yeah,
will.
I talked to him once. He's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. There, quite recently, you know, he's made the actual effort. He's taken the money that has been given to the channel and put it into traveling and pay. You know, I don't want to say that some people, you know, no, but there is people out there that you can't have a conversation with because of who they are without putting money forth. And he's using the money that's coming into the channel to achieve that. It's going in the right direction. You know, he's not buying T-shirts and buying a new car or whatever. He's taking the money. I appreciate that. I really would like to talk to Derek.
I mean, he's very community focused as well. So if you support his channel actively, he will support yours. So for anybody that's trying to build a channel, if you really are community minded, you're on the same page with what we're doing, you know, just jump over there, join MythVision. You don't have to pay him any money, just be supportive, you know, talk in chat, support him to, you know, promote him on your channel. If you have a channel, even your Facebook or anywhere, just tell your friends and family. If he sees that you're being supportive of him, he'll be supportive of you.
The problem that I have when I go to MythVision's chat is I promote this me, you know, this idea of, you know, and all the rest of it. And what I find, excuse me, with MythVision's content is it is that area. It is what it is. You know, he does it and he does it great. He does that, talks to scholars and all that, but it's very focused on, I don't want to say an anti-theistic point of view, but it's, here is information that you can use to disprove against Christians. And every Christian is different. And the information is there, the information is correct, it's all scholarly, it can all be peer reviewed, and I can't disagree with any of it. But when I go into a chat and there's 400 people talking, and I make a point of none of this matters because the person you're talking to is the person you're talking to, and even if 5% come back and disagree with me, that's an awful lot of people that disagree with me. So it's not, that's why I'd like to talk to MythVision rather than his audience, because the reason I don't go to an awful lot of his chats is because of that, is because of who watches him. The reason I don't go to the AXA or any of the Atheist Experience streams is because of their audience, not because of what their goal is. You know, it's the people who follow them.
Yeah, that makes sense to me completely. In fact, I quit watching Dillahunty's Atheist Experience show a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
because chat is just awful. His fan base, it's just atheist fight
It's
club.
not just the fan base, man. YouTube, I'm not going to go into a YouTube fucking algorithm talk and shit and all that there, but you leave fucking Christianity, you go to YouTube and you've been watching Christianity YouTube and you now suddenly change to something else, you're going to hit atheist, you're going to hit this, you're going to get the big channels with the big live streams and all these things, and it creates a community of people who pick on Christians, who shout at Christians, who are angry at what they've went through, which is justifiable. But the fact that I personally went through my anger with 2 or 3 people, we can whinge and cry in the living room. We don't have a big effect. If you're on the internet, you have 1,000 people screaming, you will amplify that. You will create an exponential growth on that. You will just create a division that is not needed, you know?
Right.
And it's, yeah, I'm making everybody fucking leave.
Yeah, that polarizing energy is antithetical to the harmony that most atheists claim that we want to build in this world. And I understand that.
I try to be a true agnostic, as in I genuinely feel that I am open. I don't flip my points and I don't go, I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a pagan. I've been through all these different points. I know where I am. I'm steady in where I am, and I'll be fucking honest on that. And
sure. So Derek has spoken to this quite often, not every single time, but he's trying to avoid becoming known as an atheist or anti-theist channel. He wants Christians involved. He wants theists about other categories involved. He doesn't want to create an echo chamber of anti-religious people. He doesn't want to be known for that. It's not marketable. It's not healthy. And so sometimes he'll just have a fairly popular religious or a Christian apologist on his channel.
He
talk
would
about their views.
I've been trying to get Craigenfort on. I've commented in a couple of videos, followed him and all and stuff. Craigenfort is a specialist on YouTube, 100,000 plus subscribers and all that. There's PhDs and scholar and all. His focus is the Indo-European culture. What was before we had written language, where all of these ideas came from, the idea of religion and culture being intermixed, and you know, this people invaded this people, so technically their gods beat their gods, and how we ended up with Zeus, and you know, the original language they've tried to reconstruct. And Craigenfort and Mythfishing I think would be a fantastic conversation, because it's not Christianity, religion, it's the fucking basis of where it came from, you know.
Absolutely, 100%. So it's been really difficult because the pushback that Derek gets from the religious community are mostly people that are very religious and very angry that the scholars on the channel are saying things that can't be meshed or harmonized with the religious narrative. And while Derek makes no apologies for that, at the same time, he makes careful distinctions. His wife believes in a God. Many people that are in the atheist community that are connected to his, they have friends and they have family and they have spouses and children that are religious in some way or another. They're generally theistic or more specifically theistic. And it's not healthy for the community to push an over polarizing narrative where everybody who believes in God is an idiot or the enemy or anything like that. It's not fair, it's not healthy, it's not productive. And he's made a point of bringing that, what should be an obvious fact, to the community. Because if he doesn't stop and do that now and then, the polemic, the energy just gets worse and worse and worse.
I work with people who are young Earth creationists. I work with a person who tried to faith heal me, because during COVID we all had to wear masks, and I work on a drill with coolant and stuff, and taking the mask up and down, you know, and moving it. It was wet. I couldn't breathe. I asked him to take over for fucking 10 minutes while I went and got another mask, and he fucking hand on me, God heal it. Like, you work with these people, you deal with them.
Sure. So it's a spectrum, right? So I had a stream just the other day.
Okay, really quickly, because they are moving around the room, so go on ahead, James.
Right, real quick. I had a stream about this just the other day, and where I explained that the line really shouldn't be drawn between theists and atheists. That religious fundamentalists like to draw the line there, but that's not where the line really is. That we're a lot more interconnected and part of a larger cooperative effort to bring humanity forward with most theists, not against most theists. It's not like atheists are alone carrying the weight of progress or humanity. It's not that at all. And so I rambled on for like 2 hours about that, and it was well received. Like, I didn't get any angry pushback, even though I would have been okay with that too. So I welcome anybody to come over to my channel, and if you see something that you like or dislike, just let me know and we can have a discussion about it. So
people hear me on the stream, people see me be blunt and stuff. I would like to consider myself as at least 95% real here than I am in real life. You know, I bought a black car with black tinted windows, with everything black, with extended all this, and then bought a license plate that said Y666, and then my initials, which I'll not say. But like the amount of conversations I've just had by people going, "Who owns the fucking devil car?" What, you know? I had a conversation with a guy who grew up in for us over here, a fundamental, right? You know, not as fundamental as America, but he grew up in this, and he came to the own realization after his child died from a drunk driver or whatever it was when he went to the church to find this thing. That was 2 hours that I stayed after work to have a conversation with a guy. Because I had a fucking black car with black tinted windows that said 666 in the plate. You know, I go out of my way to have these conversations because I believe that, I don't know, you get to know a person deeper when you ask these questions. Like, what do you think of the fucking sky? What do you think of the weather? Who gives a fuck about what the weather looks like? I hate small talk.
Right.
Scott, you're next in my list. I don't think we've... Go, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, by the way. You were my co-host.
Oh, so. Yeah. I enjoyed it, man. Enjoyed it. But yeah, that's the only thing I do is work on my little music channel, Electro Live. I haven't been that active lately, but thinking about getting back into that. Other than that, you know, I like to have discussions like this. You know, it's an interest of mine, and you know, I did, you know, on my other channel called The Discussion, I debate and discuss topics with Christians, and it's just really interesting to explore, you know, epistemology and how people conclude the things they do, and I just like to practice that conversational method as a way to really, you know, maybe foster free thinking and things like that.
Thank you. P-Time, you're next on my list.
Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for having me, guys.
Do you have a channel? Do you talk? Or are you just on?
I made one, but I don't have any content on it. It's Dumpster Fires. I grabbed it while it lasted. So, at Dumpster Fires.
At the end of the day, it's not about the subs and the views. It's about the conversations, man. If you need any help sorting out Hangouts and any of the technical stuff, feel free to hit me up on Discord or Twitter or leave a comment on it. You know, we can.
Yeah. I don't know any of that stuff. I plan on getting a channel just so I can reference stuff, right? Yeah. So maybe I can make some videos that will emphasize some points I like to make, and then host discussions maybe instead of just popping in on shows. But again, it's you know, just to fit that way I can fit it around my family a little better.
I would totally come on your channel and talk about the moon thing.
Yeah, you and
Fabio put earlier,
you and I would have some
very
good
respectful and stuff, and any help that you need setting up and doing all of that, feel free to reach out.
Okay, yeah, Matthew, I might actually reach out to you on that. 'Cause I don't know where to start, but yeah, Tapioca, good to see you.
Next on my list is Rage Zen. Go Rage.
Yeah, I am. I'm the raging atheist, and I don't want this to sound like a dig, but I do offer the anti-theist position, and I do draw lines in the sand. I do think that we need to play by the same rules that they play with us, and they've demonized us, and we are the least trusted demographic in the country of America. I do agree that most Christians are good people, but again, most of those good Christians celebrate the fact that we just made abortion illegal and celebrate the fact that we took rights away from women, and they got their eyes on taking away marriage away from gay people. I think that there needs to be lines in the sand. I don't really believe in playing nice with Christians. I go at Christians and I go at them as hard as I fucking can. No digs at any other style though.
Ridge, appreciate your fucking honesty, man. No bullshit. Somebody just joined. Whoever the fuck just joined, we're ending. Why did you join when we're fucking ending? Who is that in the background? Let me see. Oh no, Wesley, I'm sorry. I'm not even going to go down that route. No, I'm turning off the background view. I apologize. Appreciate you, Wesley. Not going down that route tonight. We're ending. Next to my list then would be Fabio.
So, first of all, I hope that my camera is pointing the right direction.
You've got a fat neck.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there you go. So, obviously, Kirk is obviously Kirk is the shit. So, anybody saying otherwise is a moron.
Would you be willing to debate Nakasuchi if I can finally get it together?
I'm not even entertaining the conversation. I mean, there is no conversation. It's a waste of time.
I love that. It's like fuck you.
If you don't get it, I can't explain it to you. So
don't make me kick you,
anyway.
Fabio.
That's so cool.
So yeah, I mean, I haven't got a channel. I do sometimes, things about F1 with Simons, and yeah, I mean that's it. I just want to live with two things. First of all, I'm going through a massive depression right now.
Oh God, I feel you.
If you know somebody which is going through, stay close to the guy because they need people to stay close. That's the first thing. The second thing is I want to suggest a book. There you go. Which is not the Bible. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a cheap shot. No, it's a book which was written in the 1st century before Christ. The book name is the De Rerum Natura from Lucrezio. If you don't know it, it's 6 books. It's an easy read. If you haven't read it, look for it. It's super interesting and it's really well written. So there you go. That's my suggestion for tonight.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And yeah, all going well. We'll have Richard here on Tuesday, and we'll do all of this again next Saturday. And there's a topic, can you think for yourself? Should you think for yourself? We've all defined it. Everybody here, except I think Headless Chicken, has defined what we all think to think for ourselves. But yeah, I don't know. Think for yourself. Try to approach every situation and be open to every situation. Not everybody's an asshole and nobody knows what the other person's going through. If we can all give Jill a hug, then everybody else deserves a fucking hug, Meet people, be open. Love everyone around you as best as you can to the ability as many fucks as you have. Before I ramble on, I'm just going to end. Think for yourselves, people. Talk to you all later.